Chapter 210. Zhao Qingquan was confused. He couldn't understand why Qin Haodong could hit a hare with a stone without looking at it. What kind of ability was that? Even Dong Sihai, a jungle expert, couldn't do that. What he didn't know was that Qin Haodong, as the Emperor Greenwood, could see all the flowers and trees within 100 meters, even though his cultivation had not been restored. He was very clear about what was happening around him, including where the prey was. Qin Haodong ignored him. He raised his hand and shot down an unknown big bird. Then he began to clean up. Hu Shaoxian didn't leave either. She stayed there and worked with Qin Haodong. Her barbecue skills were excellent. Soon the aroma spread around. It didn't take long for the meat to be roasted. Qin Haodong magically took out a bottle of red wine and a bottle of juice from his backpack. He opened the juice for the little fellow and poured a glass of red wine for Hu Shaoxian and himself. Hu Shaoxian took a sip and then picked up the red wine bottle in surprise. She cried, "Is this 1982 La Fight?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "That's what the wine seller said." Hu Shaoxian looked at his small backpack and asked, "I'm wondering where you put all these things. It doesn't look big. How can there be red wine?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "This is my universal bag. I can get whatever I want." Nonsense again. Hu Shaoxian didn't believe it at all, but she didn't continue the topic. She raised her glass and clinked glasses with Qin Haodong again. It was Lei Qinrui who came up with the idea of not providing food for Qin Haodong. He originally wanted to take this opportunity to see Qin Haodong make a fool of himself and get back all the 5 million. At that time he could blackmail Qin Haodong again. But he didn't succeed at this time. On the contrary, Qin Haodong was eating and drinking. Even the 1982 La Fight was out. The standard of food was much better than his. Dong Sihai glanced over and said angrily, "Brother, what should we do?" Wang Yuanqing said, "What should we do? I don't believe that he can carry much with that backpack. After eating today, let's see what he will eat tomorrow. Sooner or later, he will kneel down and beg for mercy." Zhao Qingquan said, "No, I can't wait. I must go to find that guy now." Dong Sihai asked, "What do you want to do?" Zhao Qingquan smiled and said, "This kid follows us every day. At night we stand guard. Otherwise we would have been fed to the wolves in the jungle. In this case it's not too much for us to ask him for some protection fees, right?" After that, he looked at Lei Tianrui and asked, "Boss, what do you think?" "Go ahead." Lei Tianrui nodded. Although he was shrewd, he had apologized to Qin Haodong at noon and paid 1,000,000 yuan as compensation. As a proud young master of an aristocratic family, how could he bear such grievances? Naturally he was full of anger. Therefore Zhao Qingquan wanted to make trouble for Qin Haodong, which was exactly what he wanted. With Lei Tianrui's permission, Zhao Qingquan threw away the remaining bone in his hand. Then he stood up and walked toward Qin Haodong. "Papa, the big bad guy is here." When the little fellow saw Zhao Qingquan, she immediately took Qin Haodong's hand and cried. But there was no fear on her face. On the contrary, she was a little excited. "Ignore him. Let's eat." After that, Qin Haodong picked up the red wine glass and gently clinked it with Hu Shaoxian. Then he slowly sipped it. Seeing Zhao Qingquan coming over, Hu Shaoxian frowned and asked, "What do you want?" "I want to collect some money from this kid." Zhao Qingquan said aggressively. "What money?" Hu Shaoxian asked with a cold face. "Protection fees," Zhao Qingquan said and turned to look at Qin Haodong. He sneered and said, "Boy, you follow us every day. If it weren't for us, you would have been fed to the wolves in Shenangjia. It's not too much to ask you for protection fees, is it?" He hadn't seen Qin Haodong fight until now. Although he had subdued the cannibal vine, in his opinion, he had used some strange means. It didn't prove how high Qin Haodong's cultivation was. Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully and said, "Why didn't I see you protecting me?" Zhao Qingquan said, "Boy, don't play dumb with me. We take turns to stand guard every night." Hu Shaoxian knew very well that Zhao Qingquan was looking for trouble with Qin Haodong. She said discontentedly, "Zhao Qingquan, don't go too far. Don't forget that it was Haodong who saved you at noon." Zhao Qingquan said, "It's true that he saved us at noon, but it was just an accident. Besides, we paid for it. There's no need to thank him at all, so he must pay some protection fees." Qin Haodong asked, "How much are you going to charge?" Zhao Qingquan said, 1 million. It's already a very cheap price. You know, we are all masters." 1 million? Qin Haodong laughed and said, "What if I don't pay?" Zhao Qingquan rolled up his sleeves and said, "It's fine if you don't pay. Then let me see if you have real ability. If you have the ability, you naturally don't need our protection." His real purpose was to force Qin Haodong to fight and teach the toy boy a lesson. so he suddenly raised the price of the protection fee to 1 million. Qin Haodong didn't take Zhao Qingquan seriously. Although they were both at the 9th level of overt power, his knowledge and experience were not comparable to any warrior. What's more, this was Shenangjia, surrounded by primeval forests with inexhaustible qi of essence of wood. This was his home field. Not to mention Zhao Qingquan, even Lei Tianrui, who had reached the level of covert power, was no match for him. He was just about to get up and teach this ungrateful guy a lesson. Suddenly, his expression changed and then he said, "I can pay the protection fee, but are you sure you can protect me?" "Of course, haven't I already told you that we are all masters?" Zhao Qingquan said confidently. "How dare you call yourself a master with your poor kung fu? How dare you ask others for protection fees? Well, each of you pays me 1 million protection fees and I can protect you." "What? Are you crazy?" Zhao Qingquan was so angry that he didn't know whether this guy was careless or mentally ill. How dare he ask him for protection fees, and it was 1 million per person. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's okay if you don't pay now. You will beg me to pay later." "Boy, you are courting death." Zhao Qingquan shouted and took a step forward. He was about to attack Qin Haodong, but suddenly he felt dizzy. Then he lost all his strength and fell to the ground with a plop. Lei Tianrui and others had been watching the movement here. Seeing Zhao Qingquan suddenly fall, the remaining 4 people stood up. "Boy, what did you do?" Lei Tianrui shouted coldly. When he was about to walk over, he suddenly felt weak in his hands and feet, and then fell to the ground with a plop. Then Dong Sihai, Wang Yuanqing and Zhao Ziden also fell to the ground. At this time they were very conscious, but they couldn't lift any strength, as if their muscles had been melted, and they couldn't even move their fingers. "Haodong, what's wrong?" As soon as Hu Shaoxian said that, she saw Qin Haodong and the little fellow fell to the ground together, and their bodies were as soft as a puddle of mud. When she was about to check the situation, she also felt weak in her limbs and fell beside Qin Haodong. Lei Tianrui originally thought that it was Qin Haodong who poisoned them, but when he saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian also fell to the ground, he immediately denied this idea. But if it wasn't Qin Haodong, who else could be in this big forest? Just when he was puzzled, there was a burst of arrogant laughter behind him. 5 people in strange clothes came out. It was the devilish 5 who had been following them. Centipede said, "Boss Scorpion, your tendon-weakening poison is really useful. Just a little bit of it and these people became weak." "Of course you didn't see who developed this poison." Toad gently flattered the one-eyed dragon. He looked very proud, obviously enjoying it very much. The woman in red stepped to Qin Haodong's side, looked at him up and down and praised, "You're really handsome, but I don't know if you can still get hard after eating 5 tendon-weakening poison. It's a pity if you can't use it." After that, she turned around and kicked Zhao Qingquan hard in the stomach. "Look at you. You're ugly and you even learned to collect protection fees from others. Do you have the ability to protect others?" Zhao Qingquan was speechless. Zhao Qingquan was in so much pain that he felt that his intestines were broken, but he couldn't move at all. Lei Tianrui pulled himself together and asked, "Who the hell are you? What do you want?" Dong Sihai followed and said, "Do you know who we are? Let us go now or you can't afford the consequences." One-eyed dragon sneered and said, "It doesn't matter who you are and it doesn't matter who we are. What's important is that someone paid 10 million for your lives. As long as we kill all of you we can make a fortune." Centipede followed and said, "I thought this task would be difficult, but I didn't expect it to be so simple. You guys are too weak. It's really not challenging at all." Lei Tianrui cried, "Let us go and we can give you 20 million. One-eyed dragon said, "Don't dream. Do you think we're fools? How dare you take money from the Shenyuan pavilion?" Dong Sihai said, "Since you know who we are, you still dare to kill us. Aren't you afraid of the revenge of the Shenyuan pavilion?" "Of course we're afraid. There are few people in the world who dare to provoke the Shenyuan pavilion." One-eyed dragon said, "But wealth comes from danger. This is Shenangjia. If we kill you quietly and do it cleanly, let alone the Shenyuan pavilion, even the immortals won't know that we did it." There was a flash of despair in Lei Tianrui's eyes. It was true. In the desolate primeval forest, even if they were killed, it would be difficult for the Shenyuan pavilion to find out who the murderer was. Centipede said, "Boss, should we send them on their way now?" Toad said with a lewd smile, "Don't worry, there's a great beauty over there. It's a pity to kill her like this. Wait for me, the toad, to eat swan meat first and then I'll kill them." The woman in red also said, "Boss, I also want to see if that handsome little guy can still get hard. It's also a test for your muscle-weakening poison." One-eyed dragon said, "Well, you guys hurry up. Don't waste too much time." Seeing that Scorpion agreed, the woman in red and Toad excitedly walked toward Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. Toad looked at the extremely beautiful Hu Shaoxian, swallowed hard and said, "Beauty, as long as you serve me well, I'll let you die soon." Chapter 211. Toad suddenly got angry. His skin had mutated because he had been soaking in poisonous water all year round. He was as ugly as a toad, so he got the name Toad. But the more he cared about his appearance, the more he cared about it. His biggest taboo was to be called ugly. He turned his head and saw the little fellow next to Qin Haodong. At this time, Tang Tang covered her eyes with her hands as if she couldn't bear to look at him. "Little bastard, you're courting death." In his anger, he forgot to think about how the little fellow raised her hand. He directly stretched out his ugly big hand to grab Tang Tang. "Take your stinky hand off me." After an angry roar, the toad's body was kicked away like a rubber ball for more than 10 meters before crashing into an old tree with a bang. This guy was also unlucky. After falling, he just hit a hedgehog. Suddenly he screamed and jumped up again. Hedgehog on the butt of a toad. So funny. The little fellow looked at Toad's miserable appearance and cried happily. It was Qin Haodong who kicked Toad. His action immediately shocked Scorpion and others. They didn't expect that someone could still move under the effect of muscle-weakening poison. "Who are you? You're not afraid of my poison?" Scorpion stared at Qin Haodong and said. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Do you think your little tricks are poisonous?" As soon as Scorpion and others entered within 100 meters of him, he noticed it. He closed his breath and pores in advance so he was not poisoned. The little fellow had the Suzaku sacred body, so she didn't care about this simple poison at all. After receiving Qin Haodong's voice transmission, she cooperated and fell to the ground. Others were really poisoned, and the father and daughter just cooperated to put on a play in order to lead Scorpion and others out. "Boy, don't be complacent. You're doomed to die when you meet our devilish five," Centipede said and raised his hand to poison Qin Haodong again. But suddenly he felt dizzy and then lost consciousness. "You used poison?" As a poison master, Scorpion immediately noticed that something was wrong. "Who said that only you can use poison and I can't?" Qin Haodong laughed and said, "How about it? The taste of my ecstasy powder is not bad, right?" Just now, when the devilish five appeared, he took out a bewitching pill from his storage ring and crushed it. Although this kind of pill was casually refined by him when he was refining the big strengthening elixir, its quality was extremely high, and it was a prescription from the cultivation world. It was colorless and odorless in the air, so Scorpion and others were poisoned without any awareness. "Run?" Scorpion realized that he had met an expert today. After a shout, he turned around and was about to run away. But how could he run away after being drugged by ecstasy? Before he could take 2 steps, he fell to the ground with a plop. After him, the Black Widow, the Toad, the Centipede, and the woman in red all fell to the ground. All the people of the Xinyuan Pavilion, including Hu Shaoxian, were knocked out. Only Qin Haodong and the little fellow were still awake. "The effect of this medicine is pretty good." Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction. Then he took out a small black pill and stuffed it into Hu Shaoxian's mouth. This was the antidote to the ecstasy pill. Soon Hu Shaoxian woke up again. After opening her eyes, Hu Shaoxian saw that all the people of the devilish five had fainted on the ground. She breathed a sigh of relief. If she had really been defiled by that ugly toad, she would not have lived for the rest of her life. She asked, "Haodong, what the hell is going on?" "These people are here to kill you." "I don't know what's going on, but these people have been drugged by me. You can ask them later," Qin Haodong said as he took out the silver needles and began to detoxify Hu Shaoxian. 5 minutes later, Hu Shaoxian opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of black water. All the muscle-weakening poison in her body was cleared. After the black water was spat out on the ground, the grass immediately withered, which showed how toxic it was. "And Shaoxian, drink water." The little fellow took a bottle of mineral water and gave it to Hu Shaoxian. Hu Shaoxian touched Tang Tang's cheek, took the water to rinse her mouth, and drank half of the bottle in one breath. Her body had completely recovered to the state before she was poisoned. She asked doubtfully, "Haodong, we were all poisoned. Why are you fine?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I'm a doctor. How can I be poisoned so easily?" "The poisoner didn't poison you, but you poisoned him. I really don't know how you did it." Hu Shaoxian said, "Haodong, please detoxify them." She pointed to Lei Tianrui and the other 4 people, looking a little embarrassed. After all, Qin Haodong had saved these people once, but these people not only did not appreciate it, but also bit the hand that fed them. At this time, she secretly rejoiced that it was absolutely the wisest choice to invite Qin Haodong to join them this time, Otherwise they would have been buried in the big forest of Shenangjia. Let's talk about them later. Let's get rid of these people first. Qin Haodong said as he kicked the hedgehogs on the toad's buttocks away. He raised his hand to seal their acupoints, and then removed the ecstasy pill from their bodies. After the one-eyed man regained consciousness, his first reaction was to run quickly, but he found that he couldn't even move his little finger. Who the hell are you? What do you want? He stared at Qin Haodong with his one eye and asked. Since his debut he had never met anyone who was not afraid of his poison. The young man in front of him was obviously poisoned by the muscle-weakening poison, but nothing happened, which showed that he was absolutely a tough character. Qin Haodong raised his hand and slapped him in the face. He said coldly, "Now is the time for me to ask you. What qualifications do you have to ask me?" The slap was heavy and loud. Half of the one-eyed man's face suddenly swelled and several teeth fell out. He was so angry that his eyes were full of fire. "Boy, don't be too arrogant. Don't forget that your companions have been poisoned by me. Although you are not afraid of the muscle-weakening poison, they will be useless for the rest of their lives without my antidote." In his opinion, the reason why Qin Haodong didn't kill him was to get the antidote of the muscle-weakening poison. This was his last card. Qin Haodong slapped him on the other cheek with the back of his hand. "It's just a little poison. How dare you negotiate with me as a capital? Who gave you the courage? Boy, the muscle-weakening poison is my exclusive secret recipe. No one can cure it without my antidote." Qin Haodong kicked him to the ground. "Don't you still have one eye? How can you be blind? Can't you see that my companions have been cured? This is impossible." The one-eyed man couldn't believe the facts in front of him when he saw Hu Shaoxian, who was shining. Who was this young man? How could he cure the poison of the muscle-weakening poison? Qin Haodong said to Hu Shaoxian, "These people are coming for you. You can ask them. But be careful not to touch this guy's body. His body is full of poison." Hu Shaoxian nodded and came to the one-eyed man and asked, "Tell me, who asked you to come?" Seeing that they were completely screwed today, the one-eyed man said dejectedly, "We are the Devilish Five. A few days ago someone posted a reward on the deep web and offered 10 million yuan to kill you. We thought it was a good opportunity to make a fortune, so we took the task." Hu Shaoxian frowned and asked, "How did you know we were coming to Shenangjia?" "It was the message given to us by the employer. He told us to wait for you at the entrance of Shenangjia." After hearing the one-eyed man's answer, Hu Shaoxian's heart skipped a beat. The task of the Xinyuan Pavilion was extremely secretive, but the other party knew that they would come to Shenangjia, which was very terrible. She asked, "Who is the employer? How can I contact them?" The one-eyed man said, "You should also know the rules of the deep web. The mercenary group that takes the task never knows who the employer is." Hu Shaoxian asked a few more questions and finally even used hypnosis, but she didn't get much useful information. After the interrogation, Qin Haodong directly found a rope to tie all 5 people up and threw them into the depths of the forest to let them fend for themselves. After everything was done, Qin Haodong looked back at Hu Shaoxian, who had a serious face, and asked, "What are you thinking about?" Hu Shaoxian said, "I'm thinking, what's the problem? Who is the employer? How did he know we were coming to Shenangjia?" Qin Haodong said, "What kind of task are you going to perform this time? This is the organization's secret, but you are not an outsider, so I'll tell you the truth." Hu Shaoxian said, "A few days ago the organization's intelligence department suddenly got a map. It is said that it is a treasure handed down from ancient times, so they sent us, the Xin department of the Xinyuan Pavilion, to see what it is." "What kind of treasure is it?" Qin Haodong asked. "I don't know the details, but we got a treasure map. According to the map, it is deep in Shenangjia." Hu Shaoxian said as she took out a shabby sheepskin map and sent it to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong took the map and looked at it. Although the sheepskin map looked very simple, his powerful spirit could perceive that it had no spiritual qi at all. It was definitely a forged new product. What shocked him was that the location marked on the map was basically the same as the one Dilong had drawn for him, but the drawing technique was not the same, but the location should be the same. This was a bit strange. If this map was fake, and the purpose of the forgery was to kill these people from the Xinyuan Pavilion, why was the location exactly the same as the ancient tomb he knew? Where did this map come from? Qin Haodong asked. It was given to us by the intelligence department. We don't know exactly where they got it. Hu Shaoxian asked doubtfully, "What's the problem?" Qin Haodong told Hu Shaoxian about his trip to Shenangjia to explore the underground palace, and then expressed his doubts. "This map was forged by someone. The purpose is to attract you here, but the purpose is unclear. The location marked on the map is real. It's not clear whether it is the treasure or not, but there is an ancient tomb here. Hu Shaoxian said, that's strange. If someone gets the treasure he will dig it himself. How could he let others know? Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, is it possible that someone else got the real treasure map, but he couldn't open the treasure so he made a fake one and spread it out, deliberately attracting the people of your Xinyuan pavilion to come over, wanting to borrow your hands to open the treasure? His inference was well-founded. According to the Dilong, there must be a formation outside the underground palace, and ordinary people naturally could not enter. Hu Shaoxian said, since he wants us to help him open the ancient tomb, why did he send people to kill us midway? Is it possible that the person who spread the map and the person who hired the Devilish Five are not the same? The two discussed for a while and finally did not get a clear answer. But one thing was certain. There was someone behind this matter, which meant that this trip to the underground palace would not be peaceful. Qin Haodong said, forget it. Let's be careful. Chapter 212. Hu Shaoxian pointed to Lei Tianrui and the others and said, Haodong, we have to go to the underground palace anyway. One more person means one more force. You better save them. Qin Haodong sneered and said, I can detoxify them, but I can't let them go so easily. After that, he gave the 5 people the antidote of the ecstasy pill, and then put them side by side. After they recovered their senses, they slowly opened their eyes. They were very surprised to see Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong standing in front of them happily, but the Devilish Five had disappeared. Lei Tianrui asked, Shaoxian, what's going on? Where's the one-eyed man? Who are they? They're mercenaries. Hu Shaoxian told them what had happened, but she didn't tell them Qin Haodong and her speculation. Hearing that it was Qin Haodong who poisoned the Devilish Five and saved them again, the 5 people felt lucky for a while and then looked embarrassed. They just ran to Qin Haodong to collect protection fees, but in the blink of an eye, they had to rely on him to save their lives. It was a slap in the face. After the embarrassment, Zhao Qingquan said, Shaoxian, help us detoxify the poison as soon as possible. Now we can't move anything except our mouths. We're just useless. Hu Shaoxian said, it was Haodong who detoxified me. I'm not a doctor. How can I detoxify you? Well, the 5 people suddenly fell into silence and no one spoke. Although they were all thick-skinned, it was always a little embarrassing to ask Qin Haodong for help at this time. Finally, Lei Tianrui sighed and looked at Qin Haodong, who was smiling, and said, tell me, how can you detoxify us? Qin Haodong pointed to Zhao Qingquan and said, I just told this guy that you should pay me protection fees. 1 million yuan for each person. Pay the money first. Lei Tianrui also knew that he could only spend money now. No matter how much money he had to save his life. He said to Hu Shaoxian, help us pay. Hu Shaoxian laughed and took out their mobile phones to transfer money to Qin Haodong. A few minutes later, Qin Haodong had 5 million more in his pocket. Can you detoxify us now? Lei Tianrui said. This is the protection fee. I've already helped you get rid of the Devilish Five and saved your lives, so it's not much to charge you 1 million each. Qin Haodong said with a smile, if you want to see a doctor, you have to pay a medical fee. 1 million yuan per person. The price is fair and honest. Seeing that Qin Haodong still wanted more money, Zhao Qingquan said discontentedly, you, Qin Haodong, don't go too far. Am I going too far? With what you've done, it's already very kind of me to treat you. Qin Haodong sneered, I now announce that the consultation fee will be increased by 2 million yuan per person. Moreover, this is the current price. After 10 minutes, the price will increase to 3 million per person. It's up to you whether you want to treat them or not. After saying that, he took out a pack of checkers from his backpack and went to play with the little fellow, not even looking at them. Lei Tianrui hesitated for a moment and said to Hu Shaoxian, Shaoxian, you have the best relationship with him. Please help us. Hu Shaoxian said with a cold face, what for? I've already helped you once last time, but now look at what you've done. First, you want to sell him food, then you want to charge him protection fee, and now you want me to beg for him. I'm not that shameless. Well, although Lei Tianrui hated Qin Haodong to death, he had nothing to say. Dong Sihai said, Boss, what should we do? What else can we do? Pay up. Lei Tianrui said angrily. But if we pay now, won't we lose face? Zhao Qingquan said. Is face more important than life? The price will increase again after a while. Lei Tianrui completely tasted the feeling of being trampled on. He couldn't be left in the big forest like a vegetable. He had to completely put down his face and cried to Qin Haodong, Dr. Qin, we're willing to pay. Qin Haodong finished the chess in his hand, turned to look at him and said, have you made up your mind? Don't force yourself. Don't force yourself. Really don't force yourself. Lei Tianrui's words completely jumped out from his molars. Qin Haodong said with a little regret, "It's a pity. I thought you could hold on for dozens of minutes." Lei Tianrui and the other four were speechless. But now their lives were in the hands of Qin Haodong, they didn't dare to say no. They could only obediently let Hu Shaoxian transfer the money for them. 5 minutes later, Qin Haodong's account added 10 million yuan. He took out the silver needles and began to detoxify these people. About 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong cleaned all the toxins in Lei Tianrui and the other four, and then took the little fellow and Hu Shaoxian back to the tent to sleep. 10 million yuan in 10 minutes. That's King fast. Zhao Qingquan looked at Qin Haodong and said angrily. Seeing that the distance between him and the woman he liked was getting farther and farther, Lei Tianrui's face became more and more gloomy. Xie Ziden said, "Forget it. Let's take a rest. Anyway, he saved us this time." Dong Sihai cried, "Should we thank him? You didn't see how he hit us when we were down. He asked us for 10 million yuan for such a small thing." Well, Xie Ziden shook her head and didn't argue anymore. She went straight back to her tent to rest. Zhao Qingquan said to Lei Tianrui, "Boss, what should we do next?" "Don't worry. Let's take it one step at a time." Lei Tianrui said with a gloomy face, "Although this guy knows some strange things and his medical skills are passable, this is Shenangjia after all. What matters in the end is real ability. I don't think he wants to leave in a short time. We'll deal with him when we find the right opportunity." Dong Sihai said, "Boss is right. There will be a time when he needs to ask us. When that time comes, we'll ask him for 100 million yuan at once to make up for all the losses." Lei Tianrui said with a gloomy face, "We've lost not only money but also face. I must kill this kind of person." It was a quiet night. After breakfast the next day, Qin Haodong and the others continued to the depths of Beacon Mountain. Soon after they left, a dozen men in black appeared at the place where they camped. These people were tightly covered from head to toe. They also wore black masks on their faces and carried slender neon swords on their backs. The leader was different. He was wearing a traditional neon samurai suit with a white cherry blossom embroidered on his cuff. He was not masked and a neon sword was slung across his waist. Not long after they arrived, a ninja in black picked up the Black Widow and threw her in front of the neon samurai. "Lord Jonin, only one of these 5 people is alive. The others have been killed by wild beasts. One is enough. I just want to ask a few questions." The neon samurai waved his hand and let the ninja in black leave. Then he stepped in front of the Black Widow. "You're so useless. You failed the task?" The Black Widow looked at the neon man with confusion. After hearing his words, she immediately looked surprised and cried, "You're the one who issued the task?" The neon samurai said, "You don't need to know so much. Just tell me how you failed." The Black Widow knew very well that her life was in the hands of the neon people. She told them what had happened from beginning to end and finally said, "It was going well, but there was a poison master among them. Not only was he not poisoned by us but he poisoned us instead." "What did he look like?" the neon samurai asked. "A very handsome young man about 20 years old with a little girl of 3 or 4 years old." "A poison master with a child?" the neon samurai said to a ninja next to him with a puzzled look. "When did such a master appear in the Xian department of the Xianyuan Pavilion in Wuxia?" "Lord Jonin, we don't know. We've never heard of a master with a child in Wuxia before. Maybe it's the hidden power of the Xianyuan Pavilion." The ninja lowered his head and said, "But don't worry, Lord. We'll try our best to find out in the future." The Black Widow said, "Sir, I've told you everything I know. Please let me go for the sake of our cooperation." "Let you go?" A trace of viciousness flashed across the neon samurai's face. "You're a loser. What face do you have to live in this world? Go find your companions." Then he waved his hand. The ninja next to him waved his long knife and the Black Widow's head immediately flew into the air. After throwing the Black Widow's body into the woods, the ninja came to the neon samurai and said respectfully, "Lord Jonin, there's one thing I don't quite understand. Why did you issue this task? Why did you find these people to snipe the people of the Xianyuan Pavilion?" The neon samurai smiled grimly and said, "The treasure map we got is very important. There used to be many very powerful cultivators in Wuxia. I guess this underground palace was left by them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a powerful formation in front of the door. If we can get the treasures in the underground palace, I guess it will be of great benefit to our Yamamoto family. Unfortunately, we don't know formations, so we need the help of Wuxia people to break the formation guarding the underground palace." "So you deliberately made a fake treasure map and arranged for the intelligence department of the Xianyuan Pavilion to get it?" The neon samurai nodded and said, "That's right. There are all kinds of talents in the Shenyuan department of the Shenyuan Pavilion. They must be able to break this underground palace." The ninja asked again, "But since you want them to break the underground palace, why did you hire a legion to snipe them?" The neon samurai said, "There are still many masters in Wuxia. I'm afraid that the news of the underground palace will attract too many masters, so I said it was a treasure map. But there's a drawback. Wuxia people may not pay much attention to it. If they send some weak masters, I'm afraid they won't have the ability to open the underground palace at all. That's why I hired a mercenary group to snipe them. If the Wuxia people are easily killed by the mercenary group, it means that they can't open the underground palace at all. At that time, Wuxia will definitely send a group of more powerful people. If the mercenary group is killed by the Wuxia people, then we don't have to lose anything. We don't even need to pay a commission." After he finished speaking, he laughed. "Lord Jonin is far-sighted. This is what you often say about killing people with a borrowed knife. I've learned something." The ninja said respectfully, "Lord Jonin, what should we do next? Go in with those Wuxia people?" The neon samurai shook his head and said, "No. The Wuxia people are very cunning. They often set up some traps and arrays in the underground palace. These are not things that we are good at, so we only need to guard the door and wait for those people to come out to snatch their things." The ninja praised again, "Lord Jonin, good plan." The neon samurai said, "There's an old saying in Wuxia that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I'm afraid those Wuxia people still don't know that they are fighting for our country's ninjas." After that, more than a dozen neon people laughed arrogantly together. Chapter 213. The driver of Qin Haodong and the others was still the bald Xie Zidong, but compared with a few days ago, Xie Zidong's attitude had changed significantly. In the past he didn't talk to Qin Haodong at all, but now he began to chat. Although he had spent 1 million yuan, he was still very grateful to Qin Haodong from the bottom of his heart. Without Qin Haodong he would have died in the hands of the devilish five. The two Hummers moved slowly for another day. They were getting closer and closer to their destination in the evening. "Are we almost there?" Wu Shaoxian asked. "Let me have a look." Xie Zidong said as he called out the electronic map in the car to see how far they were from their marked destination. "We're almost there. At this speed we'll be there in half a day tomorrow, but the road ahead is getting more and more difficult and dangerous. The area we're going to enter is called the Death Zone. According to the previous investigation, 18 expeditions have been here, but they disappeared completely after entering the Death Zone. Even no information was sent out." While he was talking, the electronic map suddenly flickered, and then turned into a snowflake. There was no more display. "What's going on? Is there no signal here? Our car is connected to a military satellite signal. It's impossible for it to disappear." Xie Zidong said as he fiddled with the electronic map, but there was still a snowflake. There was no response. Wu Shaoxian took out her mobile phone and said, "Don't look at it. Our mobile phones are also connected to a military satellite, but now there is no signal at all." Xie Zidong sighed, "This place is really strange. No wonder there was no message from those expeditions after they came in. It turns out that there is no signal from any electronic equipment here." Qin Haodong said, "That's normal. If it wasn't strange it wouldn't be called the Death Zone." Xie Zidong said, "Dr. Qin, we have a mission and have to come here. If you have nothing to do you might as well leave. Too dangerous here. Besides you have a child with you." Qin Haodong knew that he meant well. He smiled and said, "The herbs I want to collect can only be found in the Death Zone. If I leave now all my efforts will be wasted." While they were talking, the Hummer drove into a small valley which was about 1 square kilometer in size. It was completely different from the outside world. There was not much tall vegetation here and it was all green grass. Entering this place from the dense forest made people feel suddenly enlightened. The most surprising thing was that there was a pool in the center of the valley. The pool wasn't too big but it was very clear. Moreover, there was a small island that was about 20 to 30 square meters in the middle of the pool. This kind of circular structure couldn't help but make people sigh at the wonders of the Creator. At this time the sun was setting in the west. There wasn't much light in the forest, but this place was dyed golden by the setting sun. It looked extremely beautiful. "Papa, it's so beautiful here. It's like a fairy tale world." The little fellow jumped happily in Qin Haodong's arms. Living in the forest for so many days really made her feel a little depressed. However, after entering here, Qin Haodong frowned. Wu Shaoxian, who was also in a good mood, glanced at him and asked, "What's wrong? Don't you like it here?" "It's not that I don't like it but I have a bad feeling." He made a divination and it was indeed a bad omen. At this time, the Hummer in front of them stopped. Lei Tianrui and others got off and began to unload the equipment from the car. It seemed that they were going to camp near the pool. Qin Haodong said to Hu Shaoxian, "I don't feel good here. Can you tell them if we can go forward for a while and then camp?" Hu Shaoxian said, "Are you tired? I think it's very good here. It's very suitable for camping." Qin Haodong looked serious and said, "If you believe me, change the place. This is not a joke." "Well, I'll go and tell them now." Hu Shaoxian was very convinced by Qin Haodong's magical performance along the way. Although she liked the beautiful scenery here very much, she decided to believe Qin Haodong. Although it didn't feel good, it couldn't be denied that the scenery here was really good. Qin Haodong also got off the car with the little fellow in his arms and walked around the pool. The pool could be 3 or 4 meters deep and 12 or 13 meters wide. The water in the pool was so clear that the pebbles at the bottom could be seen. There were some unknown fish swimming around. Maybe these fish had never seen human beings before, so they didn't know fear. They still swam leisurely when they saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. At this time, Hu Shaoxian came to Lei Tianrui and others and said, "Let's not camp here. Let's go forward for a while and then find a suitable place to camp." Lei Tianrui said, "Shaoxian, are you stupid? The scenery here is so beautiful. It's like a paradise on earth. It's perfect for camping here." Hu Shaoxian said, "Haodong said that he doesn't feel good here. It's very likely that there will be danger. We'd better change places." Lei Tianrui's face suddenly became cold when he heard that it was Qin Haodong's idea. Dong Sihai said with disdain, "Shaoxian, don't listen to him. He's just a doctor. He's good at treating diseases, but I'm a jungle expert. No one is better at surviving in this big forest than me." Then he pointed around and said, "Look at the environment here. Beauty is secondary. The most important thing is safety. There are no tall trees around. If there are beasts, we can find them immediately. Even if there is something we can't resist, there is an island in the pool. We can go to the island to hide. I've been in the big forest for more than 10 years, and I've never seen a better place to camp than here." He said that it's not good here. I can only say that he's too ignorant. In the end, he turned his face directly and almost shouted at Qin Haodong. Zhao Qingquan also said, "That's right, Shaoxian. Don't listen to him. We are members of the Xinyuan Pavilion. The lowest cultivation is at the 9th level of overt power. We've seen all kinds of storms. There's no need to listen to a toy boy. It's okay if you don't listen to him. There's no need to attack him." Although Hu Shaoxian was dissatisfied with these people's attitude towards Qin Haodong, she also felt that what they said was reasonable. This place looked really suitable for camping. Qin Haodong also heard the conversation of these people. He stepped over and said, "I'm just saying this. It's up to you whether you believe it or not." Dong Sihai said disdainfully, "It's strange that I believe you. I'm a jungle expert. If it's dangerous here, there will be no safe place." Qin Haodong didn't say more. Some things could be made clear. Even if there was danger, he was confident that he could protect the little fellow and Hu Shaoxian. As for others, he didn't care so much. "What are you pretending to be? You're just a little doctor. How dare you pretend to be a jungle expert?" Zhao Qingquan spat on the ground. He was the most stingy person in daily life. Now Qin Haodong had taken 3 million yuan from him. He hated Qin Haodong to death. Dong Sihai said, "Boss, don't worry. It's far from the forest. It's not suitable for hunting. Let's see what he will eat tonight." Zhao Qingquan said, "That's right. When there's no food, he will come to beg us." While he was talking, a sudden fragrance floated over. He turned around and saw that Qin Haodong and the other two had set up a bonfire and were roasting 4 or 5 fat fresh fish on the fire. And in addition to the roasted fish, there was wine and meat. It looked very rich. Wang Yuanqing cried in surprise, "Oh my God, is he Doraemon? How can there be so much food in such a small backpack?" Lei Tianrui's face also became very ugly. Although they had brought enough equipment, they only had some dry food and plastic meat products, which were much worse than those on the other side. At the same time, his plan to use food to threaten Qin Haodong and get back the 30 million yuan he had thrown out was ruined. Zhao Qingquan said, "No, we have to think of another way." Lei Tianrui said, "In fact, it's easy to find trouble with him. He has been riding in our car from beginning to end. We can just charge him some fare." Zhao Qingquan patted his head and said, "That's right. Why didn't I think of it? This guy took the child in our Hummer. It's not too much to charge him 1 million a day." Lei Tianrui said, "How can 1 million a day be enough? We have thrown out 30 million. At this speed, it will take 30 days to get it back. We don't have that much time, so we charge him 5 million a day." "Got it, boss." Zhao Qingquan cried excitedly, I'm going to ask him for money now. If he doesn't pay, I'll let him go tomorrow. Qin Haodong was shaving the fish bones from the little fellow's meat. Seeing Zhao Qingquan coming over, he said, What? You're not coming to me to charge protection fees again, are you? Zhao Qingquan's face froze, but he still said cheekily, If I don't charge protection fees, you have to pay some fare since you take our car every day. Our boss said 5 million a day. If you don't pay, you'll go by yourself. Hu Shaoxian said angrily, 5 million? Why don't you rob? Although these two Hummers have been modified, the price is only about 3 million. You should charge 5 million a day. Are you crazy about money? Zhao Qingquan said plausibly, That's different. We are in Shenangjia. It's more dangerous to walk here. Special places naturally have special charges. 5 million a day is cheap. In fact, Qin Haodong didn't care whether he took the car or not. Now that they were close to the location of the underground palace, it would be more convenient for him to act alone with the little fellow. But at this moment, there was a roar of wild animals coming from the edge of the basin. A huge leopard rushed here quickly. No, there's a beast, Hu Shaoxian said. She reached out and pulled out the purple flash sword from her waist, guarding in front of Qin Haodong and the little fellow. You're so useless. You need a woman to protect you. Zhao Qingquan seemed to have finally found a chance to show off. He pulled out a single knife from his back and walked towards the leopard. As he walked, he said, Today I'll show you what a real man is. But before he could go far, his expression suddenly became sluggish. There was not only one leopard in front of him, but all kinds of wild beasts rushed in from the edge of the basin. There were black bears, tigers, wolves, rhinoceroses, zebras, and gazelles. These wild beasts had already joined together, but the leopard was the fastest, so it rushed in first. Zhao Qingquan couldn't care about anything else. He turned around and ran back, no longer caring about showing himself as a real man. So many beasts would trample him to death. Even if his cultivation was raised to another level, it was impossible for him to be a match for so many beasts, not to mention that he was only at the 9th level of overt power. Not only him, everyone here became nervous. Lei Qinrui shouted to Dong Sihai, What the hell is going on? Dong Sihai said with a blank face, I don't know. I've never seen such a situation. It seems to be the legendary beast tide. Chapter 214. Lei Qinrui turned to Wang Yuanqing and said, Aren't you good at taming animals? Can you subdue these guys? Wang Yuanqing said with a wry smile, Boss, even the most powerful tamer needs time, and no one can train so many at once. Besides, these beasts are crazy and immortals can't tame them. What should we do? Lei Qinrui cried. Wang Yuanqing said, In fact, it's easy. We can get in the car and hide. We can drive away directly. The armor of the Hummer is so thick that these beasts can't break it. Lei Qinrui cried, That's right. Get in the car. After that, the 5 of them hurriedly got in the Hummer. Hu Shaoxian also protected Qin Haodong and the little fellow to retreat to the car. Although they got in the car, they all stuck their heads out of the window to observe the situation of the beasts. After watching for a while, Wang Yuanqing said, Boss, it doesn't seem right. These beasts are not beasts at all. They are frightened. Look at them. The leopards and the gazelles can run together. There is no hostility between them. They have no desire to attack. They just want to escape. Hearing what he said, everyone also found this difference. Many natural enemies were mixed together in the herd, but they did not show any hostility at all, or they had no time to show hostility. They just ran forward desperately. Dong Sihai said, Leopards, tigers and rhinoceroses are all the kings of the beasts here. What can make them so scared? It doesn't make sense. Wang Yuanqing said, It's really strange. It shouldn't happen like this. He said to Lei Qinrui, Boss, it seems that the little doctor is right. It's not safe here. Shall we leave? Zhao Qingquan said unconvinced, What danger can there be? We hide in the car and no beast can attack us. Besides, you can see that they don't want to attack us. Besides, our camp is in a good position. There is a pond next to it. We can retreat to the island in the center of the pond. Lei Qinrui thought for a moment and said, We can attack and defend in the car. Besides, there are so many weapons. There is no need to be too nervous. Dong Sihai followed and said, That's right. We are all martial artists. Besides, there is enough ammunition in the car. There are even 2 rocket launchers. Even if a dinosaur comes, we can turn it into a roasted dragon. What are we afraid of? After hearing what he said, the others calmed down and began to admire the wild beasts outside. Wang Yuanqing picked up a pair of binoculars and observed the running of the wild beasts. For some reason he had a bad feeling in his heart. In the other car the little fellow was extremely excited. She jumped and pointed at the animals outside. Papa, look, giraffe, tiger, rhinoceros, big bear. There were hundreds of animals running outside, which was a lot more diverse than what he had seen in the safari park. Hu Shaoxian frowned and said, Haodong, is this the danger you have foreseen? She now trusted Qin Haodong more and more. An hour ago, Qin Haodong said that it was not suitable to camp here, but they could not find any reason for danger. Now they finally saw it. Qin Haodong said, my divination is about things related to myself. It can only predict good luck, but not specific content. Maybe it has something to do with these animals, but I don't think it's enough. These animals alone will not bring us too much threat. Hu Shaoxian held her chin and said, what can be a bigger threat? I really can't imagine what can scare rhinoceros and tigers like this. While talking, he suddenly heard the little fellow cry, Papa, look, those big guys are running back. Qin Haodong looked in the direction of the little fellow's finger. The wild beasts, who had run from one side of the valley to the other side, suddenly seemed to be frightened by something and turned around and ran back. That's so many ants. The little fellow pointed to the edge of the forest and cried. She was the Suzaku sacred body, so her vision was much better than that of ordinary people. Hearing what she said, Qin Haodong also saw that in the direction of the wild beast's return, a large number of black ants emerged from the edge of the forest. These ants were 3 or 4 centimeters long, equivalent to the size of an adult's thumb. The most terrible thing was that there were so many of them that they couldn't see the end at all. It was like a black carpet constantly spreading over here. No matter what it was, once there were too many of them, it would form a huge lethality. No wonder the tigers and leopards were scared to run away. In front of so many ants, no matter how fierce the beast was, it could only become food. How can there be so many ants? Hu Shaoxian cried in surprise, this is a big trouble. It's all because those bastards didn't listen to you. Now they can't run away even if they want to. It was no wonder that Hu Shaoxian felt scared. The AK in their hands was useful to deal with lions and tigers, but the effect on ants was extremely small. If these ants really wanted to attack them, it would definitely be a catastrophe. On Lei Tianrui's side, several people were also excited. Wang Yuanqing held a telescope and exclaimed, my God, these are African marching ants. Don't they only live in the Amazon basin? Why did they suddenly come to Wuxia and there are so many of them? Zhao Qingquan was also dumbfounded. He never dreamed that these beasts were driven away by small ants. The rocket launcher in his hand didn't have much effect on this kind of thing because there were too many of them. Lei Tianrui also regretted that he should just listen to Qin Haodong's advice to leave here as soon as possible, and there would be no danger now. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. He could only face it. He said, Yuanqing, how about we drive out now? It's too late. Wang Yuanqing pointed around the basin and said, look, now there are ants everywhere. They have surrounded here. There is no way out. Zhao Qingquan was not convinced and said, can't we rush out with the horsepower of our Hummer? No matter how powerful these ants are, can they stop our wheels? Wang Yuanqing sighed and said, you underestimate the marching ants too much. They have a strong bite force. Although they can't stop the wheels, they can eat the tires clean. At that time we can't go back even if we want to. Lei Tianrui realized how dangerous the situation was. Maybe they would all become ants' feces. He said nervously, Yuanqing, what can we do now? Can we retreat to the middle of the pool as soon as possible? Normally speaking, ants are afraid of water. Wang Yuanqing said, we can retreat to the middle of the pool, but these 2 cars can't go through. If we leave them here, all the equipment and food will be eaten up, even the tires will be eaten. At that time we can't go. Lei Tianrui was a little dumbfounded. Without cars and food in the Shenanjia forest, it was absolutely a very dangerous thing. At this time, the ants around began to surround the center of the valley, like an army in encirclement and annihilation, extremely fast and orderly. In the herd there was a big python left behind. Originally, snakes were not good at speed, so they were soon swallowed by the ants. A terrible scene happened. At the beginning, the big python was still twisting and rolling, trying to resist, but in less than 2 minutes, it became a pile of bones. The speed of these ants was amazing. Then another rhinoceros fell into the ant colony. 2 minutes later, the big guy that could knock over a car also became a pile of bones. My God, it's simply the devil. Hu Shaoxian covered her mouth in surprise. Not only her, but also the people in the car who saw this scene couldn't help but feel creeped out. These ants were really terrible. It could be imagined what it would be like if they fell into the ant colony. Seeing the ants getting closer and closer, Lei Tianrui asked nervously, what should we do? Wang Yuanqing thought for a moment and said, "There is a way, but I don't know if it can stop these ants." Lei Tianrui said, "Tell me quickly. If there is a way, we can try it. If it doesn't work, we can retreat to the center of the pool." Now the small pool behind them was their last life-saving straw, and it became the biggest reliance against the ant colony. Wang Yuanqing said, "As far as I know, ants are most afraid of gas and oil. We can pull the two cars together, then dig a ditch around them and then fill it with gas. Maybe we can stop these ants." They were especially well prepared for this trip to Shenangjia. Both cars were prepared with enough oil. This method could really be tried. Lei Tianrui made a prompt decision and shouted, "Everyone get out of the car and do as Wang Yuanqing said." Time was running out. Everyone immediately jumped out of the car. Xia Zidong and Wang Yuanqing hurriedly pulled the two Hummers against the pool, and then several people took down the military shovel from the car and dug ditches around. At the same time, more and more beasts in the herd fell into the ant colony and became a pile of bones. "Papa, look, the big tiger is coming to us." The little fellow pointed to the herd in the distance and cried. Because this was a valley, it was like a big bowl, and Qin Haodong and the others were just at the bottom of the bowl. The panic-stricken beasts were driven by the ant colony with nowhere to escape, so they naturally gathered to the bottom of the valley. Wang Yuanqing cried, "No, we must stop them. We can't let them rush over or they will ruin our plan." Although they were all warriors and their speed of digging ditches was extremely fast, the time was too short. They had only dug half of it. If these beasts rushed in, all the previous efforts would be wasted. "You can hurry to dig ditches and I will stop them with Xiaoxian." Lei Tianrui showed the decisiveness of a team leader at this time. After a loud shout, he picked up an AK from the car and pulled the trigger at several beasts rushing in front of him. Hu Xiaoxian also knew that it was not the time to be merciful. She also grabbed a gun and began to shoot at the approaching beasts. Zhao Qingquan and others also moved their shovels and speeded up the speed of digging ditches. Tigers, leopards and black bears fell down one by one, and the scene was a little bloody. At first, Qin Haodong was afraid that the little fellow could not accept it, but later he found that the little fellow did not have much difference. This may be because she had experienced a lot with him recently, or it may be the influence of the Suzaku sacred body. In short, the little fellow showed a far greater endurance than children of the same age. Lei Tianrui and Hu Xiaoxian changed several magazines in succession, and a large number of beasts were shot and killed, but they did not have too much sympathy in their hearts. Even if they did not shoot, these beasts would become the food of the ants. It was only a few minutes, and the death of these beasts blocked the advance of the ants. When they devoured the bodies of the beasts, their progress was always a little slower. 10 minutes later, the sun was close to the horizon, leaving only a trace of afterglow. Zhao Qingquan and others finally dug a ditch about 10 centimeters deep and 1 meter wide, and poured the gasoline barrels in the car into the ditch. At this time there was no living beast around. The whole valley was covered by the black ants, which looked like a layer of black carpet. However, the scene of the ants devouring the beasts was still vivid in their minds, which brought a strong sense of oppression to each of them. Chapter 215. On the other side of the pool, Qin Haodong and the others were facing the overwhelming ants, separated by a ditch filled with gasoline. Although these ants did not make any sound, they brought great pressure to people. The little fellow also felt scared. She clung to Qin Haodong's neck and whispered, "Papa, I'm scared." Qin Haodong reached out and touched her head, saying, "I'm here. Don't be afraid." Not only the little fellow felt scared, but also Lei Tianrui and others were so nervous that their palms were sweating. In the face of these terrible ants, all martial arts masters and modern weapons seemed to be pale and powerless. They all looked at the gasoline ditch in front of them, hoping to stop these black killers. These black ants stopped in front of the gasoline hook, as if they hated the smell of gasoline very much. But they just stopped and there was no sign of retreating. Hu Xiaoxian grabbed Qin Haodong's arm and whispered, "Haodong, can the gasoline stop these ants?" Qin Haodong shook his head slightly and said, "These little things are too fierce. It seems impossible." It seemed that in order to verify his words, the ants on the other side of the ditch immediately responded. They began to stack up layer by layer. In a few minutes they built an ant wall about 1 meter high and 1 meter wide. "What are they doing?" Zhao Qingquan cried nervously. Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat and he cried, "They are going to jump over soon. Everyone get ready." These little things seemed to have spiritual intelligence, and they even wanted to build a wall to jump over the ditch. After hearing his shout, everyone also reacted. They formed a human wall on the edge of the ditch, waiting for the ants to jump over and immediately destroy them. Soon the first batch of ants began to jump. It had to be said that these little things had excellent jumping ability. With the advantage of height, they jumped over the gasoline ditch at once. Although there were not too many ants coming over at once, if it went on like this, it would be difficult to escape the doom of being swallowed up soon. Qin Haodong and others had been waiting for a long time. When they saw the ants jumping over, they immediately began to destroy them. Although these ants were much larger than ordinary ants, at least 30 centimeters in length, they were still relatively small. Guns and other weapons could not be used at all. They could only be smacked with shovels and stepped on with their feet. Zhao Qingquan lifted his leg and stepped on an ant that had jumped over. According to common sense, this ant was dead. Unexpectedly, when he lifted his foot, the ant that had been stepped on deep into the ground was like a cockroach that could not be killed. Soon, it climbed up again in high spirits and bit Zhao Qingquan's instep hard. The two big pincers in front of this guy were like two knives, directly tearing Zhao Qingquan's socks, leaving a bloody wound on his instep. Fortunately, Hu Shaoxian was next to Zhao Qingquan. She raised the purple flash sword in her hand and cut the tenacious ant in half. However, after this ant died, more and more ants jumped in from outside. It looked like there was no way to kill them all. Qin Haodong cried, "No, this little thing is too powerful. We can't stop it at all. Let's retreat to the middle of the pool." Dong Sihai cried, "How can we do that? We'll be finished if we withdraw our equipment." Hu Shaoxian said angrily, "You're still thinking about equipment at this time. Which is more important, equipment or life?" Lei Qinrui killed several ants in succession. He also found that he could not resist the attack of these black devils at all. He gritted his teeth and cried, "Hurry up and light the gasoline and then let's retreat to the pool." After getting his order, Zhao Ziden took out a lighter and threw it into the gasoline ditch. With a bang, the gasoline in the whole ditch was burned. With the raging fire, they finally temporarily stopped the attack of the ants and bought some time for everyone to retreat. However, it was only temporary. There was not much gasoline and it burned very fast. It would not be long before these ants would devour the place. "Let's retreat quickly." After Lei Tianrui said that, he jumped into the pool. He was very good at swimming and soon swam to the center of the island. Then Zhao Qingquan, Dong Sihai, Wang Yuanqing and Xie Ziden also swam over. Qin Haodong glanced at Hu Shaoxian who was still standing there and asked, "Why don't you go over? Can't you swim?" Hu Shaoxian said with some embarrassment, "I can swim, but my clothes can't get wet, or it will be too embarrassing." Although she usually showed the impression of being sexy and open to others, in fact she was very conservative inside. The clothes she wore were very thin. If they got wet, it was not much different from wearing nothing. In the face of a lot of men, it was really unacceptable. Qin Haodong said, "You hold Tang Tang, I'll take you over." After that, he handed the little fellow to Hu Shaoxian and let her stand on the edge of the pool. The width of the pool was 12 or 13 meters. Even with their cultivation it was difficult to jump over. But with the help of Qin Haodong it was different. "Ready, jump when I say jump." Qin Haodong shouted, 1, 2, 3, jump." After that, he pushed hard with both hands directly on Hu Shaoxian's two plump buttocks. Hu Shaoxian's jumping force and Qin Haodong's push made her like a fairy in the air. She landed lightly on the island in the middle of the pool with the little fellow. However, when her feet landed on the ground, there was a strange burning sensation on her buttocks. Although she looked very open in daily life, she was just patted on the buttocks by Qin Haodong in public, so there was a touch of red on her face. Seeing this scene, Lei Tianrui gritted his teeth with anger. His face was livid. He wanted to directly block Qin Haodong there and feed him to the ants. At this time the gasoline was almost burned out. The 10-centimeter deep trench could not stop the ants at all. Those ants had long been impatient, and they did not care about the heat of the trench at all. They directly rushed over there. Hu Shaoxian hurriedly cried, "Haodong, come here quickly." The little fellow also cried, "Dad, come here quickly." Although Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qingquan and others did not speak, they secretly prayed in their hearts, hoping that the little white face could not swim and directly died on the opposite side. "Don't worry, I'll be right there." Qin Haodong smiled at Hu Shaoxian and the little fellow. He did not want to become like drowning dogs like Lei Tianrui and others. He turned back and took out a can of beer from his backpack and leisurely drank it. He was still drinking at this time. He was too pretentious, wasn't he? Seeing that the ants were about to reach Qin Haodong's feet, he threw the empty can in his hand into the middle of the pool. At the moment when the ants were about to pounce on his feet, he jumped up and made a beautiful 360-degree somersault in the air. When his body fell, he tapped on the can with one foot. With the buoyancy of the water, he jumped up again and then landed on the island in the center of the pool. Great. That is great. The little fellow cried out happily. Lei Qinrui and Zhao Qingquan's faces all changed. They all thought that Qin Haodong was just a weak doctor, so they provoked him one after another. They did not expect that he was so good at martial arts. Even Lei Qinrui, who had reached the level of covert power, could not do it, let alone Zhao Qingquan. Qin Haodong took the little fellow from Hu Shaoxian. When he looked back, the whole army of ants had completely occupied the place where they had just been. These ants seemed to be extremely dissatisfied with Qin Haodong's escape, and they vented crazily on the 2 Hummers left behind. Soon all kinds of things left in the car were completely devoured by the ants, including the solid tires of the Hummer, leaving only the bare wheel hub. But it seemed that all this was not over. The ants continued to eat the skeleton of the Hummer. 10 minutes later, the 2 intact Hummers disappeared into thin air. Zhao Qingquan exclaimed, "My God, these ants can even eat steel. Is there anything they can't eat?" Lei Qinrui said to Wang Yuanqing, "Are you sure these monsters are African marching ants?" Wang Yuanqing licked his dry lips and said, "It doesn't seem to be. Although the African marching ants are fierce, they can't eat steel. They are much worse than these monsters in front of us." Zhao Qingquan said, "Then what are they?" Wang Yuanqing said awkwardly, "I don't know. It's the first time I've seen ants that can eat steel." They didn't know these ants, but Qin Haodong seemed to think of something. Lei Qinrui said, "The equipment is gone, and these ants are surrounding us, and we don't know when they will retreat. Now we can only announce that the mission has failed, and ask the headquarters for help, so that they can send a helicopter to pick us up." Then he took out his mobile phone, but he was wet all over at this time. When he took out his mobile phone, it was dripping water. He couldn't even turn it on, let alone make a phone call. He couldn't help but regret that he had just run in a hurry and jumped directly into the water. If he had sent them across the river one by one like Qin Haodong, the current embarrassing situation would not have happened. He turned to Hu Shaoxian and said, "Our phones can't be used. Use your mobile phone to call the headquarters." Hu Shaoxian said, "This is a dead zone. There was no signal when we just entered, so we couldn't make a phone call at all." Lei Qinrui was a little dumbfounded. They were surrounded by ants outside, and now they couldn't ask for help. What else could they do but wait for death? Dong Sihai said, "Boss, don't worry. Anyway, those ants can't come here for the time being. Let's find another way." Lei Qinrui said with annoyance, "It's all your fault. You said that it was no problem to camp here and it was the safest place. What happened? We even lost our equipment and we were trapped on this island." Dong Sihai's face was red, and he thought that it was not his own idea to camp here, but everyone agreed. However, he couldn't afford to offend Lei Qinrui, so he could only swallow his words. At this time he heard the little fellow cry, "Papa, look, how can those leaves walk?" Everyone looked in the direction that the little fellow was pointing at, and saw that a large number of green leaves were moving towards them little by little at the edge of the valley. It really looked like the leaves were walking. Hu Xiaoxian's expression changed and she cried, "Oh no, these ants are going to cross the river." Lei Qinrui said, "Cross the river? They can't swim, how can they cross the river?" Hu Shaoxian said, "These leaves are moved by ants. They want to use these leaves to make boats and then come to our island." "What? Make boats with leaves?" Everyone's expression changed. The island was their last hope. If the ants rushed over again, the consequences would be unimaginable. Zhao Qingquan scolded, "What the hell are these ants? Why are they smarter than people?" The ants moved the leaves very fast. About 20 minutes later, a large number of leaves arrived in front of the pool. As Hu Shaoxian said, these ants wanted to use the leaves to make boats. First, they threw the leaves on the water and then jumped on the leaves. Chapter 216. After these ants got on the leaves, they even knew how to stretch out their hind legs and slide in the water. Although their legs were thin and slow, the leaves were drifting to the other side after all. According to this situation, the ants would attack the island sooner or later. What should we do? What should we do? This was the voice of everyone. Seeing the army of ants coming to the island from all directions, they could do nothing. If they had some long things like branches in their hands, they could still stir up the water and knock those ants into the water. However, the small island in the middle of the pool was bare. There wasn't even a stone, let alone a branch. Lei Qinrui turned to look at Dong Sihai and cried, "Aren't you a jungle expert? Hurry up and think of a way." "I can't do anything," Dong Sihai said with a desperate face. Hu Shaoxian said, "Haodong has warned you that you can't camp here, but you said it was okay. Now we are all going to die here." Thinking of the scene of ants devouring wild beasts, everyone couldn't help but feel numb all over, and a layer of goosebumps appeared on their bodies. As people from the special department, they had long thought of the day of death, but no one could accept dying in such a way. Just then, Qin Haodong said, "I have a good news to tell you." "What's the good news?" Hearing his words, everyone's eyes were rekindled with hope. Even Lei Tianrui and Zhao Qingquan, who had been hostile to him, were full of desire. Although death was close to them, Qin Haodong could magically subdue the man-eating vine. Maybe he could also deal with these ants. Qin Haodong said, "I've just seen it. These ants are not South American Army ants." Dong Sihai was discouraged and said, "I've seen it for a long time, but what's the use?" Qin Haodong ignored him and said, "These ants have a name. They are called hell soul-devouring ants. Because every time they appear very suddenly, no one knows where they come from, so people say they come from hell. At the same time, these ants are extremely greedy. They can swallow steel. It is said that they can even eat the souls of dead people, so they are called hell soul-devouring ants." The things he said were all from the cultivation world. The hell soul-devouring ant was a terrible creature in the cultivation world. Even the cultivators had to retreat when they encountered it. At first, Qin Haodong didn't think of this. He thought these were just ordinary South American marching ants. But when he saw these ants eat even the hummer, he thought of this terrible creature. After careful observation, he was sure that these were the hell soul-devouring ants of the cultivation world. He just didn't understand how they appeared on the earth. Wang Yuanqing said with a pale face, "You mean our souls will be eaten by ants after we die, and we won't even have the chance to reincarnate? Is this good news?" "This is indeed good news." Qin Haodong said, "If it's the South American Army ants, there's nothing I can do, but I know the weakness of the hell soul-devouring ants." "What? Tell us what their weaknesses are." Lei Tianrui and the others looked at Qin Haodong pitifully. Wu Shaoxian also said, "Yes, Haodong, these things have passed half of the island. Tell us what their weaknesses are, or it will be too late." Qin Haodong said lightly, "All things in nature reinforce and restrain each other. Every creature has something to restrain it, and the hell soul-devouring ants are no exception. They are most afraid of a plant called netherworld grass. As long as you have a leaf of netherworld grass on your body, the hell soul-devouring ants will never dare to approach you." "What's the use of this? We haven't even seen netherworld grass. Where can we find it?" "That's right. Isn't that obvious? This island is barren and there isn't even a blade of grass, let alone netherworld grass." Just when Zhao Qingquan and the others were complaining, a small yellow leaf appeared in Qin Haodong's palm. He said happily, "Coincidentally, I happen to have netherworld grass here." He encountered these netherworld grass by chance when he was collecting herbs. At that time he didn't expect to meet such terrible creatures as the hell soul-devouring ants. But the space in the storage ring was large enough, so he picked some and threw them in. He didn't expect that they would become life-saving things now. "Take it. Don't lose it." Qin Haodong gave the leaf in his hand to Hu Shaoxian and took out another one from his pocket. Lei Tianrui and the others looked at the golden leaf in Qin Haodong's hand. Their eyes flashed with infinite desire, and they immediately surrounded him. "Dr. Qin, do you have any more netherworld leaves? Can you give me one?" Lei Tianrui asked with a flattering face. Seeing the dense hell soul-devouring ants on the river, he didn't care about his face anymore. Qin Haodong said, "Yes, but why should I give it to you?" Lei Tianrui said, "Dr. Qin, you forget that we are companions. We should help each other when we are in trouble." "Oh, now that you mention it, I remember that you were still trying to collect the fare from me just now." Lei Tianrui wanted to slap himself in the face. He wanted to charge a protection fee, but he was almost killed by the devilish five. In the end they saved him. This time he wanted to charge a fare, but in the end he didn't even have a car, and he had to put down his face and beg for help. Qin Haodong fiddled with the netherworld leaves in his hand and said, "Now I have a life-saving thing in my hand. You can have it. It's not expensive to charge you twice the fare, is it?" Lei Tianrui suddenly blushed. In order to recover the money he had lost as soon as possible, he asked Qin Haodong for a fare of 5 million a day. Doubled would be 10 million. In the past, Qin Haodong charged 1 million each time. Now it suddenly increased 10 times, which was like shooting himself in the foot. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "As I said, I have always been honest in business. Buying and selling are voluntary. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't want to buy it, I won't force you." Lei Tianrui glanced at the dark and dense hell soul-devouring ants in the river again. He had no choice. He said, "Dr. Qin, I will definitely buy it, but there is no mobile phone signal here and I don't have so much cash so I can't pay for the time being. Qin Haodong said, it doesn't matter if you don't have cash, you can give me an IOU. Thinking of the figure of 10 million, Wang Yuanqing felt a little painful. He said, are you sure this leaf is useful? Qin Haodong said, if it is useful it can save lives. If it is not, we will all become ant dung. What does it matter if you write an IOU of 100 million? They thought about it and agreed. If their own people died, it was useless to leave more money, let alone an IOU. Xie Ziden said, Dr. Qin, I believe you. I want a netherworld leaf. Qin Haodong took out a pen and paper from his backpack, handed it to Xie Ziden and said, it's very hard for you to drive me all the way. I'll give you a 50% discount. Just write 5 million. Thank you, Dr. Qin. Xie Ziden did not hesitate to write an IOU of 5 million, and then took a netherworld leaf from Qin Haodong. Although Lei Tianrui and others were a little hesitant, seeing that the ants were close to the shore, they also gritted their teeth and wrote the IOU, and then took the netherworld leaf from Qin Haodong. Seeing Qin Haodong put all the paper, pen and IOU into his backpack, Lei Tianrui's heart skipped a beat. He always saw Qin Haodong take things out of the backpack along the way, but the shape of the backpack did not change much, as if it would not bulge no matter how many things were put in, and it would not deflate no matter how many things were taken out. Was this the legendary treasure of Xianmen? The tense moment came. The hell soul-devouring ants finally completed the beach landing, and a large number of them landed on the island in the center of the pool. Qin Haodong and others stood together in a circle, each holding a netherworld leaf in their hands. Now it was time to see if the small leaf would work. At this time, the sun had completely set on the horizon, and only a bright moon in the sky shone on the small valley. It was quiet all around and everyone could clearly hear their own breathing, heartbeat, and the rustling sound of ants crawling forward. These hell soul-devouring ants were getting closer and closer, and they could even see the two big pincers waving on their heads by the moonlight. 5 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters. When the hell soul-devouring ants came to about 1 meter away from them, they suddenly stopped, and the two antennae on their heads swayed wildly. Then, as if they were greatly frightened, they turned around and ran back. Panic seemed to be contagious. The hell soul-devouring ants, which were fierce and indomitable just now, were like a defeated army after a big defeat at this time. Without formation and discipline they rushed to the pool. Even many ants had no time to jump on the leaves and fell directly into the pool. After struggling for a few times they sank. Everyone on the island was relieved, including Qin Haodong. He only learned in the cultivation world that the netherworld leaf could restrain the hell soul-devouring ants, but he had never tried it. He didn't expect the effect to be so good. It seemed that the creator was really magical. A few minutes later the ants on the island had all fled, and even the hell soul-devouring ants outside the pool began to retreat. 10 minutes later, there was no trace of ants in the whole valley. If it weren't for the strong smell of blood in the air, it would seem that nothing had happened. Everyone felt like they had survived a disaster. It was no wonder that so many expeditions had disappeared after entering the death zone. This place was too evil. It was late at night. For the sake of safety they did not return to the pool, but camped directly on the island. Early the next morning the sun rose from the east, and the golden sunshine shone all over the valley. Qin Haodong sent Hu Shaoxian and the little fellow to the other side in the same way, and then threw the netherworld leaf in his hand into the pool, and crossed the water with the buoyancy of the leaf. Lei Tianrui and others looked at the netherworld leaf with complicated feelings. This little thing sold them for 10 million yuan. But they didn't dare to throw it away. Who knew if they would encounter such a terrible thing in the future? After calming down they all returned to the other side of the pool. At this time looking around the valley, it was still quiet and beautiful. The beasts that were swallowed yesterday didn't even leave a piece of bone residue. There was only a pool of oil spilled at the location of the two Hummers. Only the burnt black gasoline ditch could truly record what had happened here. Lei Tianrui said to Hu Shaoxian and others, let's discuss what to do next. Should we go forward or go back? Hu Shaoxian said, our task hasn't been completed yet. How can we go back? Dong Sihai said, but our vehicles and equipment are gone. It will be very dangerous if we continue to move forward. Hu Shaoxian said, but we are about to reach our destination. If we go back now, all our previous efforts will be in vain. Besides, how do you know that there will be no danger if we go back? Lei Tianrui said, Shaoxian is right. Since we are here we should continue to move forward. After the goal was unified they continued to the depths of Shenangjia. Qin Haodong naturally would not go back. He held the little fellow and walked behind the team with Hu Shaoxian. Chapter 217. In the thorny forest, walking was not much slower than the two Hummers. In addition, the journey was very smooth and they did not encounter monsters like the hell soul-devouring ants. They arrived at the destination marked on the map near noon. It was at the foot of a mountain. Looking up, the mountain towered into the clouds, surrounded by clouds and mist. It felt like the monsters in the journey to the west were coming. Finally, let's have a rest. After Hu Shaoxian said that, she took Qin Haodong to sit down on a clean big stone. Others also sat down to recover their strength. Qin Haodong looked at the mountain in front of him. There was a faint feeling of spiritual qi fluctuations. It should be here. Lei Tianrui said to Hu Shaoxian, we are carrying out a task from above this time. Now we have arrived at the destination. It's not appropriate to take an outsider with us, is it? Hu Shaoxian said, who is an outsider? If it weren't for Haodong several times, we would have been dead now. It's no big deal to take him in. Are you afraid that he will rob us? Well, seeing Hu Shaoxian's strong insistence, Lei Tianrui finally said, well, it's okay to take him in, but there are some things I have to make clear to him first. He turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, I know you have some skills, but our goal is very special. It's impossible for you to rely on your own ability. You must rely on us to take you in. Qin Haodong just smiled and said nothing more. Lei Tianrui continued, because of this, no matter what kind of treasure you encounter after you go in, you have to take us as your master. You have to let us choose the treasure first. But you can rest assured that according to the information we have, this treasure is huge, and you will be rewarded when the time comes. Qin Haodong said, I understand what you mean. The things inside will be distributed according to personal ability and contribution. Am I right? Very right. It's the fairest to distribute treasures according to ability. Lei Tianrui said and nodded. He was very satisfied with the attitude of Director Qin Haodong. After pausing for a moment, he continued, actually, you don't have to feel aggrieved. Don't think that your medical skills are very good, but when it comes to entering a treasure trove, your medical skills aren't of any use at all. You still need the help of our special abilities. We came to Shenangjia this time. All the members have been carefully selected. Shaoxian and I are masters at the level of covert power. Zhao Qingquan is an array master. Wang Yuanqing is a beast tamer. Xie Ziden is proficient in traps. Dong Sihai is a jungle expert. For example, the door of the treasure has been covered by a formation. Ordinary people can't see where the door is. If you want to go in, you have to use the ability of Formation Master Zhao Qingquan. Qin Haodong glanced at Zhao Qingquan and said, so he knows formations? More than understanding. Since it was his strong point, Zhao Qingquan straightened his chest. He had suffered many setbacks in front of Qin Haodong along the way, but now he could finally hold his head high. Our Zhao family is a family that specializes in arrays. I started learning arrays when I was 3 years old. When I was 10, I achieved minor success. When I was 20, I achieved major success. I am a rare array genius in the family. As long as I am here, there is no array that cannot be broken. He was extremely awesome. After he finished, he saw that Qin Haodong didn't respond much. He thought that Qin Haodong didn't understand arrays, so he said, no wonder you don't understand. Ordinary people can't see arrays in their lifetime. Today I will give you a simple explanation. Generally speaking, arrays are mainly divided into 4 main categories: concealment array, illusion array, trap array, and killing array. This is a concealment array, and there must be other follow-up arrays behind it. The reason why this treasure hasn't been excavated until now is because of the protection of the arrays. Dong Sihai said, arrays are really amazing. The door is in front of us, but we can't see anything. Qingquan, it seems that we have to rely on you this time. He had the best relationship with Zhao Qingquan. After that, he looked at Qin Haodong provocatively and thought, are you awesome? Weren't you able to poison the 5 devilish mercenary group? Don't you have the netherworld leaf that can suppress the hell soul devouring ants? So what? Now if you want to enter the door, you have to rely on us. Qin Haodong smiled and said, in this case, I will wait to see the methods of the array genius. No problem, just wait and see. Zhao Qingquan came to the foot of the mountain arrogantly and began to investigate the hidden array in front of him. The others did not know about arrays, so they all watched curiously. After a full hour, Zhao Qingquan wandered back and forth at the foot of the mountain for more than a dozen times. The arrogant look on his face gradually disappeared, and on the contrary, beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Papa, it's too slow. I'm so bored. The little fellow was very puzzled by Zhao Qingquan's behavior and felt it was very boring. Qin Haodong said, my daughter can't wait. Array genius, when can we see the door? Zhao Qingquan said with annoyance. What do you know? This is an upper human level array in front of us. It can't be broken so easily. Lei Qinrui asked, is the upper human level array very powerful? Zhao Qingquan said, there are also levels of arrays which are equivalent to the level of warriors. From high to low, they are divided into heaven level array, earth level array and human level array. Each level is divided into 3 levels, upper, middle and lower. The lower level array is the lowest level and the easiest to break, while the upper level array is the most difficult. Lei Tianrui nodded and said, oh. It turns out that the array is too difficult. No wonder it's so hard for you to break it. Qin Haodong smiled and said, there are 3 levels of arrays in front of us. This one belongs to the human level. Shouldn't it be the easiest? You are a formation genius. Why is it so hard for you to break it? What do you know? Zhao Qingquan seemed to have been greatly insulted and cried, all tactical deployments are built according to the terrain, rivers, mountains and even stars. That's why they can create the special properties of concealment, illusion, trapping and killing. Every tactical deployment has great wisdom. How can it be broken so easily? Qin Haodong responded as if he suddenly understood. Then he asked, how long do you think it will take to break it? Zhao Qingquan said, it takes a lot of effort and many attempts to break our array. You also need a compass to locate and observe it as a whole. Sometimes you even need to consult ancient books and research materials. If you are careless, you will be trapped by the array and you may die. Stop. Qin Haodong quickly raised his hand and stopped the chattering Zhao Qingquan. He said, just tell me how long it will take. If it's too long, I'll go to sleep first. What's with your attitude? Zhao Qingquan said angrily, the level of this array is too high and it's very complicated. It will take me a few hours to calculate it carefully with a compass. Well, go ahead. Qin Haodong took Hu Shaoxian and the little fellow to sit down on a stone. Papa, what are we going to do? The little fellow asked. That guy is too stupid. It will take a long time to find the gate. Let's fight together. Let's fight together. Master, okay? Qin Haodong said and took out a deck of cards from his backpack. Okay. I like playing cards best. The little fellow cried out cheerfully. Then, the 3 of them actually sat there and started to play landlord. Zhao Qingquan was mad. Although his cultivation was not too high, he had always been known as a little genius in the circle of arrays. It was the first time that he had been ignored like this. What did he mean by too stupid? What did he mean by it would take a long time to find the gate? This was a formation of the upper grade of the earth rank, okay? Lei Tianrui said, ignore him. He doesn't know about arrays. Hurry up and break the formation. Let's try to get in before dark. Zhao Qingquan glared at Qin Haodong angrily. Then he took out a formation plate from his arms and began to calculate carefully. As time went by, it was already noon. Qin Haodong took out food from his magical backpack and began to have lunch. Dong Sihai and Wang Yuanqing also went to hunt some wild animals nearby. After lunch, everyone rested. Zhao Qingquan continued to work alone. But as the sun was setting and the light around him was getting darker and darker, he still had no clue. I quit, Qin Haodong said. The landlord's bet was that whoever lost would put a blade of grass in his head. He didn't try his best to make the 2 beauties happy. Now he was like a scarecrow, but Zhao Qingquan still didn't stop. He took off the straw on his head, walked to Zhao Qingquan and said, can you do it? After an afternoon, Zhao Qingquan was already tired and his eyes were dim. He said disappointedly, I suspect that this is not the upper grade of the human rank, but the lower grade of the earth rank. Qin Haodong said impatiently, don't talk nonsense. Just tell me if you can break it or not. I can't break it. Although Zhao Qingquan didn't want to show weakness in his field of expertise, he had no choice. The level of this formation was too high. He couldn't do anything about it with his attainments and formations. Qin Haodong put his hand on his head and said with annoyance, you let us wait for an afternoon and this is what you tell us? Don't blame him. Maybe this formation is really too difficult. After dissuading Qin Haodong, Hu Shaoxian said to Zhao Qingquan, what should we do? Zhao Qingquan said with embarrassment, there is no good way. I can't break the formation of the earth rank at all. I can only invite the elders from my family. How can this work? Hu Shaoxian's face also became gloomy. They had walked for so many days and finally reached their destination. Now there was a treasure mountain but they couldn't get it. Now there was no mobile phone signal at all. If they wanted to send reinforcements, they had to go out of the death zone again to make a call. Who knew how much more dangerous it would be? Who knew if they would encounter something as abnormal as the hell soul-devouring ant? Qin Haodong said discontentedly, didn't you start to learn formations at the age of 3? You reached the primary level at the age of 10 and the advanced level at the age of 20? Aren't you a rare formation genius in your family? Isn't there no formation that can't be broken as long as you are here? Why can't you even deal with such a broken thing? He had already seen that the concealing formation in front of him was an upper grade of the earth rank, but it was a little complicated. He thought that Zhao Qingquan could definitely break it, but it would take him a little longer. He didn't expect that this guy was more useless than he had imagined. Well, Zhao Qingquan looked embarrassed. He couldn't blame others. He only blamed himself for boasting too much just now. He boasted that he was a formation genius, but now he was slapped in the face. You don't understand formations. What are you talking about? It's not my fault at all. The level of the formation is too high, far beyond our expectations. Dong Sihai said, that's right. You can break the formation if you have the ability. Since you can't do it yourself, don't blame others. Hu Shaoxian said, what are you talking about? Haodong is a doctor. Aren't you forcing him to break the formation? Chapter 218. Dong Sihai said, since you can't do it, don't gossip. Well, don't quarrel anymore. Qin Haodong stopped Hu Shaoxian and said to Zhao Qingquan, since you can't break the formation, let it stop for a while. Let's go in first, okay? Stop. Zhao Qingquan looked at Qin Haodong as if he were looking at a fool and cried, I said don't talk if you don't understand. What do you think this is? Do you think it's a remote control? Do you think it can stop and move forward? Powerful formations absorb the qi of heaven and earth. Once they are activated, they will emit superpower. It's impossible to stop unless you can destroy the formation. Qin Haodong said, that is to say you can't stop it? Zhao Qingquan cried angrily, what do you mean I can't do it? Even the person who set up the formation can't do it. It's impossible to do it unless he has reached the level of a guru who is very familiar with the formation and can easily find the flaws. Otherwise, if any Tom, Dick, or Harry could stop the formation, would there still be a need to stabilize the formation? At this time, even Hu Shaoxian couldn't stand it anymore. Her little man was unparalleled in medical skills and was usually very clever. How could he ask such a stupid question? Although she didn't understand the formation, she had heard about it as a member of the Xian department of the Xianyuan Pavilion. She was afraid that even the head of the Zhao family couldn't stop the formation. Stopping the formation required an extreme understanding of the formation, which was 10 times more difficult than breaking it. Since everyone was looking at him strangely, Qin Haodong handed the little fellow to Hu Shaoxian and said, wait for me. Wait, what are you waiting for? Everyone looked at Qin Haodong strangely and didn't know what he was going to do. Qin Haodong looked around and saw a square brick next to him. He didn't know who left it. He grabbed the brick and walked to the foot of the mountain. What is he going to do? Who is he going to hit with the brick? What's going on? Is this man crazy? This is a hidden formation, not an illusion formation. It can't confuse people. When everyone was puzzled, Qin Haodong had come to the foot of the mountain. He raised the brick in his hand and hit it in one direction. Boom, there was a loud noise as if the whole mountain began to shake. What's going on? Was the brick that powerful? Are you sure this isn't a bomb? Is this an earthquake? Just as everyone was shocked by the power of the brick, the scene before them suddenly changed. A cobblestone path appeared before them, stretching into the depths of the mountain. All right, the formation has been paused. He thought that since Zhao Qingquan could break the formation, he didn't have to do anything. After all, it was not good to be too high profile. But now it seemed that it was too difficult for a capable person to keep a low profile. The entire place fell silent. No one spoke. Hu Shaoxian couldn't believe what she was seeing. She rubbed her eyes hard to make sure that the scene in front of her had changed, indicating that the concealing tactical deployment had been broken. She turned her head to look at Qin Haodong and her face was full of little stars. She knew that he was extraordinary, but she didn't expect him to be so extraordinary. Zhao Qingquan was at a loss of what to do with just a brick. No matter what, it was unbelievable. Lei Tianrui was also confused. Didn't this guy know nothing about arrays just now? How could he solve the problem with just a brick? Zhao Qingquan was the most shocked. He didn't expect that the formation that had troubled him for a whole afternoon would be paused by a brick. If he told this to the experts of arrays, he would be laughed at as a lunatic. But the fact was in front of him. How did this guy do it? The brick made him doubt his life. Was Qin Haodong too powerful or he was too incompetent? Who was the genius of arrays? Could it be that this fellow was just a blind cat bumping into a dead mouse and had some dog's hit luck to coincidentally find the location of the array core? Then this dog's hit luck was too heaven-defying, right? Don't just stand there. Let's go. Qin Haodong said and took the lead to walk to the stone path with the little fellow in his arms. Everyone followed him. Zhao Qingquan looked left and right to make sure that the formation had indeed stopped running and would not cause any damage. Could this guy really break the formation with a brick? Even his grandfather couldn't do that. It must be luck. In fact, he was wrong this time. The reason why Qin Haodong could break the formation with a brick was entirely because of his strength, and it had nothing to do with luck. A formation had advantages and disadvantages. It had a door of life and a door of death. The weakness of a formation was its formation core. As long as the formation core was found, no matter how powerful the formation was, it would be vulnerable. Every formation had its formation core, but the location of the formation core was different. Some were set in the formation and some were set on the side. The hidden formation core just now was on the side, so Qin Haodong easily found it. Just now he stopped the formation with a brick. It seemed very simple in others' eyes, but in fact, it was a combination of countless wisdom and strength. His greenwood genuine qi was extremely pure. Just now he mobilized the nearby essence of plants to help him, so he destroyed the formation core and paused the formation. If it were someone else, it would take a lot of effort to find the formation core. They walked along the cobblestone path for about a mile, and suddenly a fog rose around them. The fog came so suddenly that it blocked everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. It was so white that they couldn't see anything at all. They could barely see their companions nearby. What's the matter? Why is there such a big fog all of a sudden? Although they had encountered fog along the way, it had never been so thick. At this time they couldn't see the scenery around them and they couldn't even see the road under their feet. How could they move forward? Lei Tianrui said with annoyance, such a big fog. When will it dissipate? Zhao Qingquan took out the compass from his arms and said after checking, Boss, it's not fog, it's a formation. Formation? What formation? Lei Tianrui was shocked. He didn't expect that he would fall into a formation while walking. Zhao Qingquan said, if I'm not wrong, this formation is called the Cloud and Mist Trap Formation. The powerful thing about this kind of formation is that it can make people enter it unconsciously, and then block people's sixth senses through the fog so that you can't distinguish north from south, and finally get trapped in the formation. What should we do? Can you break it? After what happened just now, Lei Tianrui also realized that Zhao Qingquan was not omnipotent. He was a formation genius but not so. Should be able to break it. The formation here was extremely ingenious. The formation of the same level was more powerful than the one outside. Even Zhao Qingquan himself was not so confident. He said again, to break the Cloud and Mist Trap Formation, we must first observe the direction of the airflow, and then locate the position of heaven and earth through the formation plate. It may take a little longer. You must be patient. How long will it take to be patient? 3 or 2 days. You won't let us starve to death here, will you? Qin Haodong's words immediately reminded them that they were too excited when they just came in and didn't prepare any food. If they were trapped for too long, they would really starve to death. Then what can I do? This is the Cloud and Mist Trap Formation, the peak of the formation in the human level. Zhao Qingquan was extremely dissatisfied with Qin Haodong's doubt. He cried, don't think that you're so great just because you've just found a dead mouse by luck. You can break this formation if you have the ability. Just say no. You really have a lot of nonsense. Qin Haodong despised Zhao Qingquan, and then reached out his hand. No one knew when there was another brick in his hand. He took 2 steps forward, waved the brick in his hand and hit it hard in one direction. Zhao Qingquan cried, are you kidding me? Good luck doesn't always come. If you can break the formation again I'll... When he said this, he suddenly felt as if his neck was strangled. He could no longer say the rest of the words, because the surrounding fog had begun to dissipate quickly, and the scenery in front of them became clear again. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was it really so easy to break the formation? Should he find a brick to try next time? If he had known this earlier, he would not have brought Zhao Qingquan here. He could have just pulled a cart of bricks from outside. Little man, you're really great, Wu Shaoxian said, holding Qin Haodong and kissing him on the cheek. The little fellow also did not want to be outdone. She kissed the other cheek. Qin Haodong looked at Zhao Qingquan and asked jokingly, what will you do if I break the formation? No, nothing. Zhao Qingquan was embarrassed, but at the same time he secretly felt lucky. What he wanted to say was, if you break the formation, I will kneel down and call you father. Fortunately he said it a little slower, otherwise he would really lose face. At the same time he did not understand how Qin Haodong did it. If the last time he stopped the formation with the brick was by chance and luck, what about this time? Could it be that Qin Haodong could easily find the formation eye of a formation? That was really terrible. It seemed that he had to report this matter to his family. The others did not think as much as he did. They continued to move forward after breaking the trap formation of clouds and mist. The further they walked, the more open it became. About 10 minutes later they came to a beautiful peach forest. Hu Shaoxian looked around at the peach blossoms and sighed, "It's so beautiful here. It's really like a fairyland on earth." Qin Haodong was not as relaxed as she was. He said with a sullen face, "Be careful, everyone. It's very dangerous here." Dong Sihai said, "Are you kidding me? There's not even a mosquito here, let alone those abominable ants. How can it be dangerous?" Before he could finish speaking, a breeze blew past and peach blossoms fell. At first, no one paid attention, but these light peach blossoms carried a sharp aura, and the speed at which they fell was 100 times faster than normal peach blossoms, heading straight for his throat. Fortunately, Dong Sihai had the acuity of a warrior. At the critical moment, he gently turned his head and the peach blossoms brushed his shoulder. It was a close call. Although he avoided the vital parts, the peach blossoms directly cut the clothes on his shoulder and left a 3 or 4 centimeters long wound. Dong Sihai screamed and covered his shoulder. "What's going on?" Zhao Qingquan's face changed and he exclaimed, "Falling leaves and flying flowers can hurt people. This is the killing formation of flying flowers and falling leaves." It was no wonder that he was shocked. The killing formation was much more powerful than other formations. The concealing formation made people unable to find what they wanted at most. The trap formation made people unable to move forward, but the killing formation directly killed people. No one had expected that a small peach blossoms could have the power of a knife, enough to take people's lives. Everyone immediately gathered together and looked around vigilantly, for fear that more peach blossoms would fall. Hu Shaoxian held the purple flash sword in front of Qin Haodong and the little fellow. She shouted to Zhao Qingquan, "What should we do? Do you have any way to break the formation?" "Forget it. It's useless to ask you." Before Zhao Qingquan could speak, Hu Shaoxian turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, "Haodong, do you have any more bricks?" Chapter 219. Zhao Qingquan was embarrassed, but there was nothing he could do. He was really helpless in the face of such a killing formation. "Of course. How can I not carry such a good thing with me?" Qin Haodong laughed and a square and red brick reappeared in his palm. It was said that the brick had jumped to the first place on the list of hidden weapons, because it was widely used and could be found everywhere. Its power was unparalleled. With the brick in hand, no matter what kind of martial arts you had, I could break them all with one brick. At this time he stood there with the brick in his hand, and the momentum of having the world in his hand spread out, which was extremely coquettish. At this moment Zhao Qingquan shouted, "Oh no, the killing formation is activated." Everyone looked up and saw that the whole peach forest was changing, and the killing intent was pervasive. Countless peach blossoms fell, like arrows all over the sky, and rushed to everyone in all directions. This was bad. A great sense of fear rose from the bottom of everyone's heart. Just the peach blossoms had such power, and now so many of them were shooting at them at the same time. There was no hope of survival. Just when everyone felt extremely helpless, they saw Qin Haodong waving his hand, and the brick in his hand hit against the rain of flowers all over the sky. Everyone looked at the red and square brick, which carried everyone's hope. Whether they could survive from the killing formation all depended on Qin Haodong's hit. With a bang, the killing intent in the sky dissipated quickly. The powerful falling petals and leaves formation, which could kill people at any time, melted like ice and snow. Although the peach forest was still the peach forest, and the peach blossoms were still the same, the original killing intent was gone. The formation was broken? Did he succeed again? Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They seemed to have touched the crisis of death just now. "Papa is great." The little fellow cheered and jumped. Zhao Qingquan felt like he was struck by lightning. Although he also hoped that Qin Haodong could break the formation, he would suffer a huge blow if the formation was really broken. He had learned the formation since he was 3 years old, and it had been more than 20 years since then, but he couldn't even compare with a brick. How could he live? After the formation was broken, everyone moved forward again. After exiting the peach forest, the path had already come to an end. In front of them was a towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. There was no end in sight. At the foot of the mountain was a huge cave. It was dark inside and nothing could be seen clearly. Since they had come this far with great difficulty, they naturally wouldn't back down. They continued to advance deeper into the cave. Surprisingly, when everyone came to the entrance of the cave, it suddenly lit up. Looking up, he saw bright spots appearing on the walls of the cave. They looked like incandescent lamps brightly illuminating the cave. These lights looked like lamps, but they were not lamps. They were probably made with special methods. When someone entered, they immediately lit up. Although Zhao Qingquan suffered many setbacks in breaking the formation, he could see that these bright spots were a kind of Qi formation, which gathered the spiritual Qi between heaven and earth to illuminate the cave. He could not help but sigh, heavens, to be able to use formations to such an extent, it is truly admirable. Everyone agreed. After passing through several formations, they had already felt the greatness of the previous owner of this place. The space in the cave was large and long enough. After walking for about an hour, they suddenly saw an open space in front of them, and a huge underground palace appeared in front of them. The palace gate of the imperial palace was magnificent, just like the gate of an ancient city. There was a plaque hanging right above the gate with 3 big words written on it: Zhaixing Palace. Heavens, we are finally here. After seeing the Zhaixing Palace, everyone's face was filled with joy. Be careful, everyone. Usually, there will be hidden weapons in an underground palace like this. We have all come this far. Don't get hurt accidentally. Lei Qinrui suppressed the excitement in his heart and turned to Xie Zidong. Zidong, you are best at hidden weapons. Go and have a look. Xie Zidong agreed and carefully came to the gate of the Zhaixing Palace. After careful examination, he did not find any traces of hidden weapons. He gently pushed with his hands, and the 2 seemingly heavy gates were pushed open easily. They stepped into the Zhaixing Palace. After making sure there was no danger, Xie Zidong turned around and waved his hand. Lei Qinrui and the others followed him into the gate. The inside of the Zhaixing Palace was very spacious, about 400 or 500 square meters. There was a huge patio in the middle and there were 4 gates on both sides. No one knew what was inside. When they were about to look around, suddenly a light flashed in the hall, and a huge figure appeared in the patio. It was a cultivator in his 30s or 40s with shoulder-length hair, wearing a cyan robe. He looked like an immortal, completely like a master. Although everyone could see that it was just an image left by someone before, not a real person, they still felt a great pressure, which showed how powerful this person was when he was alive. After the shock, Lei Qinrui hurriedly knelt down and shouted, "Junior Lei Qinrui greets you, senior." The others also knelt down and saluted the middle-aged cultivator, but Qin Haodong stood there without moving. Wu Shaoxian hesitated for a moment, and then stood beside Qin Haodong. Dispense with the formalities. The middle-aged cultivator said, I'm Situ Zhaixing, the owner of this cave. When you see the image left by me, I've already passed the tribulation and ascended to heaven. Everyone was secretly shocked. No wonder the image brought them so much pressure. It turned out that it was left by a cultivator in the tribulation realm. Situ Zhaixing said, I've already ascended to heaven, and I don't have any disciples. My treasures are useless to me, so I'll leave them to the destined ones. Since you can see my image, it means you're qualified to get my treasures. Lei Qinrui and the others were ecstatic when they heard that they could get the treasures left by a cultivator in the tribulation realm. Cultivators in the tribulation realm were legendary figures, and they had been extinct for many years. This was definitely a chance that could only be found by chance. Thank you, senior. Lei Qinrui and the others kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing again. Situ Zhaixing nodded and said, My treasures are divided into 4 parts. The first part is the treasures I've accumulated over the years. Whoever gets them will be as rich as a country. I hope they can do more good things for the world in the future. After that, he raised his hand to a door on his left. The door suddenly opened and countless treasures made people unable to open their eyes. The storeroom was about 100 square meters with all kinds of gold, silver, jewelry, emeralds, diamonds, corals, agates and everything else in it. Any one of these things was priceless. Lei Qinrui suppressed the urge to rush into the storeroom and continued to listen to Situ Zhaixing. It was not that he was not greedy, but as a warrior, although he also desired wealth, he was more eager for things related to cultivation. Those were the real treasures. Good. It's commendable that young people are not tempted by the treasures. Situ Zhaixing nodded as if he was very satisfied with their performance. Then he continued, Money is just a worldly possession. It's dispensable for us cultivators. The second treasure I left behind are the pills that this old man has refined over the years, as well as a variety of rare medicinal herbs. These pills are all high-grade, some can increase a martial artist's cultivation, and some can heal the dead. They are all priceless treasures. After that, the second door on the left opened. There were all kinds of bottles and jars in it, and some herbs were piled up like a hill. Lei Tianrui continued to kneel there, waiting for Situ Zhaixing to introduce the other two treasures. Anyway, there were only a few of them in the cave, so it didn't matter if they took them sooner or later. This old man has spent his entire life studying arrays, and his attainments in this field are extremely profound. Therefore, the third treasure I left behind is this old man's knowledge on arrays. As long as you study these books thoroughly, you can definitely become a great array master for a time. After that, Situ Zhaixing pointed at the door on the left again. After the door opened, there were all kinds of bamboo slips and books, as well as some auxiliary items such as formation discs and flags. Seeing these things, Zhao Qingquan's heart beat wildly. He had just seen how powerful Situ Zhaixing's formation was. If he could get the inheritance of these formations, he would definitely become the most powerful person in the Zhao family, and the throne of the family master would be a sure thing. Situ Zhaixing added, "The last treasure vault contains all kinds of martial arts manuals I've collected over the years. No matter what kind of physique you have, you can find the one that suits you. As long as you practice to the extreme, you can ascend to the heaven realm like me. But you must be careful that any of these manuals can set off a bloody storm in Jianghu. Don't spread them out." Lei Tianrui's eyes lit up. This was what he longed for most. Improving his cultivation and ascending to the heaven realm was the ultimate dream of every warrior. "While I'm leaving, these things are all for you. Make good use of them. Don't waste my painstaking efforts." After that, Situ Zhaixing's figure slowly dissipated in the air and finally turned into nothingness, leaving only the things in the four treasure vaults next to him. Lei Tianrui stood up. He did not rush to the treasure vault, but turned to look at Qin Haodong. "Boy, we had an agreement before that I would be in charge of everything after entering the treasure vault. These martial arts manuals and elixirs belong to us, but you can take some of the gold, silver and jewelry." Zhao Qingquan came over and said, "Boy toy, you should be content. This is our boss's kindness. After all, the treasure was found by us. It's okay not to give it to you." Hu Shaoxian said discontentedly, "What do you mean? These things are assigned by our superiors. Are you going to take them for yourself?" Lei Tianrui said, "It's not for me to take them for myself, but we've worked hard to find them. We should let our brothers pick some first. Of course, you can also choose some that you need." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "We agreed to distribute the things inside according to personal ability and contribution. I don't think you know who made the most contribution along the way. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been able to break the three formations at all. You might even have died outside. So I should choose first and the rest are yours." Lei Tianrui laughed and said, "Boy, don't think that you're great because you know some formations. Pick some things and get out or you won't even know how you die." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Really? Then I'd like to see how you're going to kill me." Lei Tianrui's expression changed. "Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way." After that, he jumped up in the air and slapped hard on Qin Haodong's chest with one palm in front and the other behind. His cultivation had reached the first level of covert power. When he exerted his full strength, there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. Chapter 220. Good Skills. Boss's lightning wind palm has improved again. Zhao Qingquan shouted excitedly. He had wanted to fight Qin Haodong for a long time. Now that Lei Tianrui did it, his wish was fulfilled. In his opinion, although Qin Haodong had some kung fu, he was no match for Lei Tianrui, who was at the level of covert power. He was afraid that Qin Haodong would lose his life under this palm. At this moment, a figure flashed. Hu Shaoxian directly stood in front of Qin Haodong and raised her hands to block Lei Tianrui's palms. Four palms collided with each other. Two muffled bangs were heard. Hu Shaoxian's body just shook a little, while Lei Tianrui was shaken and flew backward. Lei Tianrui landed on his feet and took 3 or 4 steps back. He said in horror, "Shaoxian, you've reached the second level of covert power?" Although they were both at the first level of covert power, his cultivation was more or less deeper than Hu Shaoxian's, which was also the reason why he was the leader of this trip to Shenanjia. But now he found that Hu Shaoxian had reached the second level of covert power before him. How could he not be surprised? After all, after reaching the level of covert power, it took a lot of effort to make every step forward. Because of this, although the second level of covert power was only one level higher than the first level of covert power, some people couldn't reach it in their lifetime. Hu Shaoxian said coldly, "If you dare to hurt Haodong again, don't blame me for being rude." This. Lei Tianrui's expression froze. He had thought that he had everything under control once he entered the Zhaixing Palace. He didn't need Qin Haodong to go out with Situ Zhaixing's tactical matrix inheritance. But he didn't expect that Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation had improved so much, which made things a bit difficult. After hesitating for a moment, he cried, Hu Xiaoxian, don't forget that we are on the same side. Although your cultivation is higher, can you beat so many of us? Dong Sihai, Zhao Qingquan, and Wang Yuanqing pulled out their weapons and stood behind him. Zhao Zidong hesitated for a moment, but she did not move. Lei Tianrui, I didn't know you were so shameless. Hu Xiaoxian drew out the purple flash sword and shouted, so what if there are many of you? Try it if you have the guts. She thought that these people should be grateful to Qin Haodong for saving them several times in the formation. She didn't expect that they wanted to kill the donkey after it was no longer useful, which made her extremely angry. At this time, Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation of the second level of covert power had been fully displayed. Her body was bursting with amazing momentum, which made Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qingquan and the others step back. Forget it, Xiaoxian. Let's go. Qin Haodong shook his head. He was also extremely disappointed with the characters of Lei Tianrui and the others. He stepped forward and grabbed Hu Xiaoxian's wrist, leading the little fellow to the wall nearby. What are they doing? Lei Tianrui and the others were even more surprised than when they saw that Hu Xiaoxian had reached the second level of overt power. There was a stone wall in front of him, but Qin Haodong just walked over it. Was he crazy? But in front of everyone's shocked eyes, Qin Haodong took Hu Xiaoxian and the little fellow directly through the wall and disappeared in front of everyone. What's going on? Does he know how to walk through walls? Lei Tianrui was so surprised that he couldn't shut his mouth. Zhao Qingquan cried, forget it, boss. Don't worry about him. Let's hurry up and collect the treasures. That's right. The world will belong to us brothers in the future. Lei Tianrui said, Zhao Qingquan, you are responsible for studying the formation. Wang Yuanqing is responsible for collecting the elixirs. Dong Sihai is responsible for counting the treasures. I'm going to collect the cultivation methods. He divided the work among them except for Zhao Zidong, because he was extremely dissatisfied with Zhao Zidong's choice just now. Hu Xiaoxian was also puzzled by Qin Haodong's behavior at the beginning. But when she went through the wall, she didn't feel anything. The scenery also changed and a simple cave appeared in front of her. She asked in surprise, Haodong, what's going on? How did we get out? Qin Haodong smiled and said, see for yourself. Hu Xiaoxian looked back with doubts, only to find that the magnificent Zhaixing Palace had disappeared, and there was only an empty cave in front of her. What treasure house? What formation? What elixirs? What secret books? They all turned into nothingness. Lei Tianrui, Zhao Qingquan and others were running around aimlessly. Only Xie Zidong was standing there with a lost face. What the hell is going on? Hu Xiaoxian was even more confused when she saw it. She didn't know what had happened. Qin Haodong said, in fact there is no so-called Zhaixing Palace here. There was no wall in front of us just now, so we walked out directly. But I saw it clearly? Hu Xiaoxian said incredulously. Qin Haodong said, sometimes what people see is not necessarily true. It was just a magic formation. He also secretly admired the master of this cave. Whether it was the use of the formation or the analysis of people's psychology, he had reached the peak level. This magic formation was the highest level of the formation they had experienced, which had reached the level of the earth rank. The most important thing was the order of the magic formation. If the magic formation had been set up at the beginning, Zhao Qingquan might have studied it carefully. Although he still couldn't crack it, he might have found it was a magic formation. But the magic formation was put in the fourth place, and the order was mysterious. Generally, people would become relaxed after passing 3 formations in a row. They subconsciously thought that they were about to reach the final goal. At this time, it was easy to fall into the magic formation and be unable to extricate themselves. The ultimate purpose of the magic formation was to confuse people's minds. If one's cultivation was not high enough and his mind was not firm enough, it was easy to fall into confusion. The reason why Qin Haodong could see through the magic formation so easily was that he had an extremely powerful spirit, even more powerful than the one who set up the formation. The reason why he didn't directly point it out was that he wanted to see the character of Lei Tianrui and others. If they were good characters, he could directly break the formation with them. However, he was greatly disappointed with their performance, so he directly left the magic formation with Hu Xiaoxian and left them there. Hu Xiaoxian suddenly realized that everything just now was fake. It was ridiculous that Lei Tianrui and others directly exposed their true nature for something that didn't exist at all. When she came to herself, she still asked with some worry, will they be okay? Anyway, these people were also her companions. If they all died here, it would be difficult to explain when they went back. Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. The magic formation is not a killing formation. They won't die for a while." Then he began to step forward and looked at the cave house in front of him. They entered the first stone house in front of them and saw all kinds of bottles and jars in it. The air was filled with the medicinal fragrance of elixirs. The middle of the stone house was very empty, and there were some marks on the ground. It seemed that this should be the place where the nine-dragon tripod was placed. At this time, Qin Haodong somewhat understood how the Dilong entered the cave house. He had to admit that there was too much luck here. The Dilong fell from the top of the mountain and rolled into the cave house. He was in a coma at that time, so he was naturally not affected by the magic formation and directly slid into the elixir room. Moreover, the 4 formations they had experienced before were all one-way defense formations. That was to say, people coming in from the outside would touch the formation, but people going out would not feel anything and did not know the existence of the formation at all. Therefore, after the Dilong got the nine-dragon tripod, he easily left the cave house but could never come back. After understanding all this, he had to say that it was really a coincidence. If the Dilong had not stolen the nine-dragon tripod by accident, he would not have come to this cave house. He observed the elixir room again. The elixirs inside were indeed extremely rare elixirs for ordinary people, but they were still a little worse than his level of alchemy in the past. Moreover, these elixirs had been there for many years and many of them had lost their efficacy. Is it also a magic formation here? Wu Shaoxian asked. Once bitten, twice shy. After all, the feeling brought to her by the magic formation just now was too real. Not here. Qin Haodong said, "This should be the real cave house of the cultivator, but I don't quite understand. Ordinary cultivators can set up 1 or 2 formations in front of the cave house. Why did he set up so many at once and all of them are defense formations? Does he have enemies?" But there is also a loophole in this statement. According to the cultivation of the owner of the cave house, his enemies should at least be at the same level as him. Although the formations in front of us are exquisite, they can't stop masters above the supreme power realm. However, Hu Shaoxian could not give him the answer to this question, so she could only find it by herself. They left the elixir room together and stepped into the second stone house. There were some books and bamboo slips here, including the master's experience in alchemy, formation and so on. Qin Haodong picked up 2 books at random and inferred from the contents of these books that the master's cultivation should not have reached the crossing calamity stage, but only the yuanying stage. The third stone house was the treasure room, where there was a formation to hide the spiritual qi. As soon as they entered the door, they felt the spiritual qi blowing on their faces. Qin Haodong's expression changed. He saw that the stone room was full of spirit stones. Although they were only middle-grade and low-grade spirit stones, the spiritual qi they emitted was much stronger than that of the outside, which was good for the cultivation of warriors. The value of these spirit stones could not be measured by money. Even if he could not find anything else this time, it was a worthwhile trip to get these spirit stones. With spirit stones and the elixir room, he was more sure that this was the cave house of the cultivator. However, there were only spirit stones here, no other gold and silver treasures. No wonder Dilong said that there was nothing good here. Ordinary people could not see the value of spirit stones at all. What are these stones for? Hu Shaoxian obviously did not know about spirit stones. In this era of lack of spiritual qi, people began to turn to martial arts, so they had very little concept of spiritual qi and spirit stones. Qin Haodong said, "These are called spirit stones. They can release spiritual qi, which is good for the cultivation of warriors. You can take some and I'll take the rest." "Papa, I want some too." As a Suzaku sacred body, the little fellow had a natural sense of intimacy with spiritual qi. Qin Haodong took out 2 middle-grade spirit stones for the little fellow to play with, and took out some for Hu Shaoxian. Then, with a thought, all the spirit stones in the room were put into the storage ring. Seeing a lot of spirit stones disappear, Hu Shaoxian asked in surprise, "How did you do it?" "To tell you the truth, I am a cultivator and I have my ways." After so much experience, Qin Haodong trusted Hu Shaoxian a lot more. After leaving the treasure room, they came to the 4th stone house. There were not many things here except for a memorial tablet in the middle. It was written that Situ Zhaixing of a Yuan sect. Situ Zhaixing. Qin Haodong thought of the middle-aged cultivator who appeared in the illusion formation. It seemed that the man should be Situ Zhaixing and this was his cave house. However, this man did not ascend but died here. Chapter 221. Hu Shaoxian also thought of this and said, "The dead should be respected. Besides, we have so many spirit stones. We should kowtow to Senior Situ. Then she knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing's memorial tablet 3 times. Before she stood up, she heard the sound of a machine. Oh no. There was a mechanism. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and Hu Xiaoxian's waist with the other. They rushed to the door of the stone room. When they looked back, there was no danger in the room. At this time, the incense table under the memorial tablet moved to the right, revealing a cave entrance. The cave entrance was still bright, and there was a staircase leading down. It turns out that there is another space here. Qin Haodong let go of Hu Xiaoxian, and they walked down the stairs one after another. There was a stone room about 20 square meters below. There was a futon in the middle of the stone room, and a man was sitting cross-legged. It was Situ Zhaixing, but there was no vitality in him. Obviously he had been sitting for a long time. Just when their attention was attracted by Situ Zhaixing's body, they heard a click and the entrance had been completely sealed. What's going on? Qin Haodong was shocked. He turned back and waved his hand at the entrance. After a muffled bang, the entrance did not move at all. Qin Haodong reached out and flicked it, making a tinkling sound. It turned out that the entrance had been sealed by an iron plate made of fine steel. Oh no, we are trapped, Qin Haodong said. Let me have a try, Hu Xiaoxian said as she drew out the purple flash sword. A purple light slashed at the iron plate at the entrance. After a crisp sound, there was only a small white dot left on the iron plate, but there was no damage. At this time they heard someone say, "There is no need to try. I built the exit with 10,000-year-old cold iron. You can't break it at all." Qin Haodong and Hu Xiaoxian turned their heads and saw a shadow appear in the basement again. It was Situ Zhaixing. But his body had been sitting next to him. This should be the divine thought left by him before he died. "Senior Situ, what do you mean by trapping us here?" Qin Haodong asked. "You are the fated one since you can find the secret room I left. Since you are here, don't worry. Sit down and listen. I will tell you a story." Situ Zhaixing pointed to the 2 futons in the corner and asked them to sit down. Qin Haodong thought for a moment. Anyway, it was useless to be anxious now. The stone room was so solid that it was impossible to force their way out. He could only wait for Situ Zhaixing to finish. He took Hu Xiaoxian to sit down on the futon. Although Situ Zhaixing was just a wisp of divine thought, he also made a posture of sitting down. The little fellow felt it was very interesting and looked at the illusory Situ Zhaixing with great interest. "Senior Situ, just tell me what you want," Qin Haodong said. "It's a long story. I have to start with my father, Situ Qin." Situ Zhaixing began to talk slowly. "My father is the 42nd sect leader of Yuan School. He once fell into the trap of the evil cultivator, Ghost King Ling Shan. He was seriously injured and fled to Liaodong. Although he escaped the pursuit of Ghost King Mang Shan, my father was seriously injured and was on the verge of death. Fortunately, he was not fated to die. He met a small hunter in the forest. The small hunter saved my father's life with dear blood. When he recovered, in order to repay his kindness, my father told the small hunter that he could fulfill any wish he had. Unexpectedly, the small hunter was so ambitious that he wanted to be the emperor. As the head of Yuan School, my father always kept his word. Although the small hunter's request was a little excessive, he finally agreed. In order to fulfill the small hunter's wish, my father took out 12 upper-level spirit stones and used the terrain of the mountains and rivers outside the Great Wall to set up a rising dragon formation to nourish the small hunter's dragon vein. Small hunter dragon vein outside the Great Wall? Hearing this, Qin Haodong was shocked and asked, "Senior Situ, is the small hunter called Nurachi?" "Yes, that's his name." Situ Zhaixing continued, "With the help of my father, the small hunter's luck became stronger day by day. Finally, he unified Liaodong outside the Great Wall. Unfortunately, his lifespan was too short, and he died before the ascending dragon vein reached its peak. Before he died, the little hunter begged my master to be the protector of the female Jinren, but my father was a cultivator and didn't want to get too involved in worldly affairs, so he didn't agree. However, he still promised the little hunter that he would continue to use the rising dragon formation to nourish his family's dragon veins, so that his descendants could become emperors." Qin Haodong was secretly shocked. It was said that the Manchurian Qing dynasty had a dragon vein beyond the Great Wall, and now it seemed to be true. Situ Zhaixing said, "The little hunter's son is a boy named Huang Taiji. This guy is very smart. He knows that my father's rising dragon formation is the foundation of his family, so he tries to please him." After the invitation to be the imperial preceptor was rejected, the imperial preceptor directly used his name to name the country, and named it Qin. "Oh my god, so that's how the Qing dynasty got its name?" In Qin Haodong's history class, the teacher had told him that Huang Taiji had changed the name of the Qing dynasty to eliminate the Han people's rejection. He wanted to show the world that the Qing dynasty was not the continuation of the Jin dynasty, but the Qing dynasty wanted to be the ruler of the world. However, this statement was questioned by the students at that time. Some people asked why they named it Qing. There were so many Chinese characters. Why did they choose to name it Qing? This question puzzled the teacher at that time, and now he finally had the answer. It turned out that it came from the name of Situ Qing, the head of the Yuan sect. Situ Zhaixing continued, later the dragon qi gathered by the rising dragon formation became stronger and stronger. Finally Huang Taiji became the emperor as he wished. After he became the emperor, he didn't reduce his respect for my father. Every year he would donate a lot of money to the Yuan sect and provide all kinds of cultivation resources. But the life of mortals is not like us cultivators who can live for hundreds of years. They only have a few decades to live. Soon Huang Taiji passed away, and his children and grandchildren succeeded him one after another. The existence of our Yuan sect and the rising dragon formation became the secret of every emperor of the Qing dynasty. Only when the old emperor passed away would he tell his successor this secret. When Kangxi succeeded to the throne, the secret of the rising dragon formation was somehow leaked out. Some supporters of the previous dynasty knew that the Manchurian Qing dynasty had a dragon vein beyond the Great Wall. Many people went to Liaodong to search for it, trying to cut off this dragon vein. Kangxi was very scared when he found out. He went to the Yuan sect to find my father and asked him to move the rising dragon formation to the capital. For the sake of this little guy's filial piety for many years, my father agreed and asked him to build a summer palace in the capital. Then he sealed 12 upper-level spirit stones in the heads of the 12 zodiac animals. In this way the rising dragon formation was quietly moved to the capital. With the nourishment of the rising dragon formation, the Qing dynasty was like the sun in the sky. Not only was the national power strong, but the emperor also lived a long life. Hearing this, Qin Haodong knew that something must have happened later. Otherwise, the Qing dynasty would not have gone downhill. As expected, Situ Zhaixing continued, but there was a problem with Kangxi. Originally, he chose the 14th son as his successor. Unexpectedly, his 4th son usurped the throne after his death. After Yongzheng ascended the throne, he directly imprisoned the 14th prince. But the problem was that the secret of our Yuan sect and the rising dragon formation was passed on by Kangxi to the 14th prince. Yongzheng didn't know anything about it. The 14th prince wanted to tell this secret to Yongzheng, but he couldn't see Yongzheng at all. The matter of the dragon vein was of great importance, so he couldn't ask others to tell him. After Yongzheng ascended the throne, he found that the Qing dynasty provided a lot of materials to the members of parliament every year. This made him extremely dissatisfied. At the same time he felt that there were many masters in our Yuan sect, which was too big a threat to the Qing dynasty. So he gathered many cultivators and at the same time he put a poison in the wine of a Yuan school called power dissipation powder. After all the preparations were done, this beast led the experts of Yuan school to carry out a crazy massacre. Not only did he kill my father, but he also slaughtered nearly 100 disciples of our sect overnight. Not even a single immortal beast was left. Speaking of this, although Situ Zhaixing was only a wisp of spirit, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian could feel his shocking anger and crazy killing intent. Qin Haodong asked, "Senior Situ, in this case how did you survive?" Situ Zhaixing sighed and said, "I showed a talent for cultivation that was far beyond ordinary people since I was a child. I was worthy of being the first genius in the sect. When I was 100 years old, I left the Yuan sect in order to break through to the Yuanying realm. I opened this Zhaixing palace here and practiced alone in seclusion. Because of this, I survived. This seclusion lasted for 30 years. When I came out again, the Yuan sect had been destroyed for more than 10 years. When I heard the news, I was so angry that I directly killed Yongzheng in the capital." Qin Haodong felt that he had received too much information today. He was shocked one after another. The death of Yongzheng had always been a mystery in history. At the age of 57, Yongzheng was not old and had always been very healthy. But suddenly there was news that he died of illness. There were many legends about Yongzheng's death. The most popular one was that he was stabbed to death by Liu Xinyang. Now it seemed that he was stabbed to death, but the murderer was not Liu Xinyang but Situ Zhaixing. Hu Shaoxian asked, "Senior Situ, what happened next?" Situ Zhaixing said, "The Yuan sect helped the Qing dynasty, but Yongzheng slaughtered the whole Yuan sect. Killing him alone could not appease my anger, so I decided to destroy the dragon vein of the Qing dynasty and stop them from continuing. But at this time a large number of masters under Yongjing arrived. Although I had reached the Yuanying realm, it was still difficult for me to fight against them alone. Even so, I took away the dragon head of the 12 zodiac animals at the risk of being seriously injured. Of course, it was also because Yongjing did not know the secret of the 12 zodiac animals, so he transferred all the masters in the Summer Palace away, which gave me the opportunity. The Rising Dragon formation was operated by 12 upper-level spirit stones. I took away a dragon head, so the Rising Dragon formation was naturally broken and the so-called dragon vein was also destroyed. Later, I was chased by a large number of masters, so I escaped to the inaccessible Shenangjia and returned to Jiaxing Palace. In order to prevent people from finding here, I set up 4 formations outside Jiaxing Palace and dug this basement. In order to make people believe that this is my last palace, I left the 9-dragon tripod and some spirit stones outside to confuse the enemy. I also made a delicate mechanism in this basement. Anyone who can kowtow to me is definitely not an enemy, and has the chance to get the inheritance I left here. Qin Haodong understood the whole story. It was because of Hu Xiaoxian's kowtow that the basement left by Situ Jiaxing was opened and his remains were seen. But now he did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse to be trapped here. Situ Jiaxing continued, "It's a pity that I was seriously injured, more seriously than I thought. Soon after, I died in the cave. My biggest regret in this life is that I did not see the fall of the Qing dynasty with my own eyes." Chapter 222. Qin Haodong said, "Senior Situ, don't feel sorry. It has been more than 300 years since you assassinated Yongjing, and the Qing dynasty has been destroyed for more than 100 years. While speaking, he also sighed in his heart. After Yongjing's death, Qianlong succeeded the throne. Before Emperor Qianlong, the Qing dynasty was in its heyday. Even if Kangxi ascended the throne at the age of 8, he could still create a prosperous era. But from the late Qianlong, the Qing dynasty began to go downhill. He had a total of 17 sons, some of whom were promising, but every time he chose an excellent son as the crown prince, the son would never live long. The reason why he finally chose the extremely mediocre Jiajing as the emperor was that there were no outstanding sons left, so he could only choose the best one. After Jiajing, there was no need to mention that each generation was worse than the last. Finally, there was an old woman who listened to the government from behind the curtain, and directly pushed the Qing dynasty to destruction. From this point of view, it really had something to do with the cutting off of the dragon vein. Unfortunately, Situ Jiaxing's actions had harmed countless people in Wuxia, and finally they were trampled by the West for nearly 100 years. It's been so long? After sighing, Situ Jiaxing showed a look of joy. Finally, I have avenged my Yuan sect, so I can die with my eyes closed. Qin Haodong said, "Senior, we have heard your story. Is it time to let us out? If you want to get out of here, you can only rely on yourself. I can't do anything." Situ Jiaxing said, "I was not sure whether cutting off the dragon vein would work, so I wanted to choose a successor to accept my inheritance. If the Qing dynasty was not destroyed, he would continue to avenge my Yuan sect. Even if the Qing dynasty was destroyed, he would pass on the unique skills of my Yuan sect. So I set up this secret room with no exit." Hu Xiaoxian said anxiously, "No exit? You mean we can't get out of here at all? How can we avenge you?" "Of course we can't get out forever." Situ Jiaxing said, "Our Yuan sect's disciples all practice fire attribute cultivation methods. There is a magical power called Eyes of Phoenix that is unparalleled in the world. As long as we get the inheritance of a Yuan sect and practice the Eyes of Phoenix to the basic level, we can melt the black iron at the door and naturally go out." Hu Xiaoxian sighed and said, "My God, how long will it take? Back then I was only focused on revenge. How could I care so much?" Situ Jiaxing looked at Hu Xiaoxian and shook his head. "Little girl, you have a good aptitude. It's a pity that your physique is of the water attribute. You are not suitable to inherit the mantle of a Yuan sect." He looked at Qin Haodong again and then shook his head again. "I've lived for more than 100 years, but I've never seen such a pure wood body. It's a pity that it's not suitable for practicing my cultivation method. It seems that you two are doomed to be trapped in this basement. I had 2 treasures to give you, but now it seems that it's unnecessary." Qin Haodong said, "Senior Situ, don't forget that there are 3 of us here." Hearing that, Situ Jiaxing remembered the little fellow in Qin Haodong's arms. After looking at it carefully, his divine thoughts fluctuated violently. "My God, this little girl has the Suzaku sacred body? That was great. That's great. It seems that a Yuan sect is still alive. the eyes of Phoenix can finally be passed on. After the surprise, Situ Zhaixing said again, the Suzaku sacred body is the best physique for practicing the fire attribute cultivation method. It's a pity that this girl is too young. I don't have much time left. It seems that it's too late to teach her. Qin Haodong said, Senior Situ, you can teach me the cultivation method. Although I can't practice it, I can teach my daughter. Well, that's a good idea. Situ Zhaixing raised his hand and a golden light shot into Qin Haodong's mud pill palace. He directly passed the cultivation method of the eyes of Phoenix to Qin Haodong with his divine thoughts. But in this way, his body became more and more illusory, as if it would dissipate at any time. Qin Haodong felt that there was something more in his mind. It was the cultivation method of the eyes of Phoenix. Situ Zhaixing said, you can teach this little girl to practice the eyes of Phoenix later. I'm leaving soon. Tell you what you should say as soon as possible. He raised his hand and pointed to a wooden box in the corner. He said to Qin Haodong, open the box. Qin Haodong took the box and opened the lid. There was a bronze dragon-shaped beast head inside. In addition, there were 2 crystal-clear gems at the bottom of the box. These things were only a little bigger than peanuts. They looked like diamonds, but they were not diamonds at the same time. Situ Zhaixing pointed to the 2 small stones and said with infinite emotion, these are 2 space stones that I got by accident. Don't underestimate them. They are absolutely priceless treasures for cultivators. If it was worn on one's body, not only could it double the speed of one's cultivation, but it could also prevent one from going berserk. These space stones were originally a pair. I originally wanted to propose to my younger sister after I reached the Yuanying realm. I didn't expect that when I finished my closed-door training, we were already separated from each other. Since the 2 of you are a couple, I'll give these 2 nether space stones to you. Looking at Situ Zhaixing, who was sighing, Qin Haodong felt a burst of contempt. Since he liked his younger sister for a long time, why didn't he propose to her when he was more than 100 years old? Why did he have to sigh here in the end? But then he thought that the life of cultivators was far longer than that of ordinary people. After reaching the Yuanying realm, they could live for more than 500 years. In this way, more than 100 years was not too old. Hu Shaoxian held the 2 space stones in her hand and peeked at Qin Haodong with a shy face. But then she was a little worried. This little thing was neither a ring nor a pendant. It was not a good way to hold it by hand. It seemed that Situ Zhaixing knew what she was thinking. He said, the space stone is very magical. You can put it on the Chanzhong acupoint on your chest. Hu Shaoxian took out one and put it in the groove of her collar according to Situ Zhaixing's instructions. Finally, she put it on the Chanzhong acupoint on her chest. She suddenly felt cold, and then the space stone disappeared. She turned around, pulled open her collar and peeked at it. She saw a small colorful dot on her chest, as if it was a congenital birthmark. It's really magical. Thank you, Senior. After thanking Situ Zhaixing, Hu Shaoxian handed the remaining space stone to Qin Haodong and then looked at him with watery eyes. Well? Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, Senior, can I give this to my daughter? Situ Zhaixing said, your love for your son is rare. It's a pity that the property of the space stone is cold. This girl has the Suzaku sacred body. If you give it to her, it will melt in a few days. It will not only be useless but also a waste of a treasure. Qin Haodong agreed, and then directly pressed the space stone on the Chanzhong acupoint on his chest. Like Hu Shaoxian, the space stone immediately turned into a colorful mark. Hu Shaoxian's cheeks turned red. At this time she felt more and more that she and Qin Haodong were a match made in heaven. You should cherish it. I found the space stone in an ancient relic. It should have many other uses, but I haven't excavated it yet. After saying that, Situ Zhaixing pointed to the dragon-shaped beast head in the box and said, this is what I got from the Yuanminjiwen garden. This beast head is not very valuable. The most important thing is the upper-level spirit stone in it. Qin Haodong thought that this thing could be sold at least tens of millions of yuan at the auction. In the eyes of this old man, it became a worthless thing. He held the dragon-shaped beast head in his hand, checked it and said, Senior Situ, you haven't been cheated, have you? This beast head has no spiritual qi. How can there be an upper-level spirit stone? Situ Zhaixing said, this thing is sealed by the unique secret method of our Yuan sect. Otherwise, if the spiritual qi leaked, it would have been discovered long ago. After saying that, he passed the secret method of unlocking the seal to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong unlocked the seal. With a click, the dragon-shaped beast head was divided into 2 halves. A shining upper-level spirit stone was exposed in the air. At the same time, the whole stone room was instantly filled with spiritual qi. The spiritual qi was hundreds of times richer than that of the middle-level spirit stone. It was so condensed that Qin Haodong felt a tingling on his skin. The genuine qi in his body suddenly ran at a high speed. The bottleneck of the qi refining stage, which had been silent for a long time, was a little loose. Qin Haodong suddenly saw the hope of breaking through the qi refining stage without taking the initiative to absorb it. However, it was not the time to practice. He suppressed his inner impulse and closed the dragon head again. Little girl, our Yuan sect has been passed down for thousands of years. The Eyes of Phoenix is the only magic power. You must let the little girl practice well. Don't let me down. There is food and water in the storage ring, enough for you. I'm leaving. I wish you a long life together. After saying that, Situ Zhaixing's body became fainter and fainter, and finally disappeared in the air. Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian stared at the direction where he disappeared, and a faint sadness rose in their hearts. Well, don't be sad. In fact, Senior Situ has been gone for more than 300 years. This is just a trace of his divine thought. Qin Haodong patted Hu Shaoxian on the shoulder, and then took her and the little girl to the front of Situ Zhaixing's body. Qin Haodong didn't know what special method the old man used. Although he had been dead for more than 300 years, his body was very well preserved. It looked lifelike, as if he was asleep. The three of them kowtowed to Situ Zhaixing together. Qin Haodong took a storage ring from the finger of the body and scanned it with his divine thought. There was a lot of food and water in it. It was enough for them to eat even if they were trapped here for 3 or 5 years. Shaoxian, this is for you? Qin Haodong said and gave the storage ring to Hu Shaoxian. I don't want it. You can have it. Although Hu Shaoxian was not familiar with the properties of the storage ring, she knew it was a good thing. She pushed it back to Qin Haodong. Since I'm giving it to you, just take it. I already have one. Otherwise, where do you think I get those things from? Qin Haodong said as he grabbed Hu Shaoxian's hand and put the storage ring on her finger. Then he taught her how to use the storage ring. Little man, are you going to propose to me? Hu Shaoxian looked at Qin Haodong with affection in her eyes. Oh. Qin Haodong realized that he had put the storage ring on Hu Shaoxian's ring finger. Oh. How about changing your finger? When he was about to change the position of the ring, Hu Shaoxian clenched her fist and said coquettishly, No. You just proposed to me. I said yes. You are my man from now on. You are not allowed to go back on your word. Together. Together. The little fellow clapped her hands and shouted. Qin Haodong was speechless. Nowadays, children watched too much TV and shouted when they saw a proposal. They didn't even think about their mother. After that, Qin Haodong put Situ Zhaixing's body into the storage ring. After getting so many benefits from the old man, he had to find a beautiful place to bury him. When everything was done, he called the little fellow to his side and began to teach her to practice Eyes of Phoenix, the magical power of a Yuan sect. The most urgent thing was to let the little fellow practice to the realm of small accomplishment. Otherwise, no one could get out of here. Chapter 223. Qin Haodong comprehended the cultivation method of Eyes of Phoenix from beginning to end. Suddenly he was shocked. The Yuan sect was really rich and had such a great magic power. What was a magic power? It needed to be explained from the origin of cultivators. In Jianghu, warriors didn't know magic and sorcerers didn't know martial arts. Cultivators just combined the two into one, practicing martial arts and being proficient in magic. In terms of magic, even the best magic had to be activated in advance, so more or less preparation time was needed. But in a battle, everything changed in an instant. How could the opponent give you so much time to prepare? So many senior sorcerers died in assassinations. Therefore, cultivators preferred magic weapons to magic. After all, magic weapons could be activated with a thought and were much faster. Magic was equivalent to using guns, which always needed to be loaded, aimed, and open the safety. Magic weapons were like wearing swords, which could be pulled out to fight the enemy. Compared with magic and magic weapons, magic power had its own advantages. Once an ability was cultivated, it would be equivalent to a cultivator's own ability. Just like the limbs of a congenital expert, it didn't need any preparation at all and could be activated at any time. Moreover, magic power had a strong growth potential. Once it was mastered, it would improve with the improvement of the cultivator's realm. Because of this characteristic, the number and type of magic power were extremely rare, especially the magic power to cultivate eyes. Qin Haodong hadn't seen it in the cultivation world for 500 years, and the Eyes of Phoenix in front of him was exactly this kind of magic power. Even among the many magic powers, Eyes of Phoenix was also a top-grade magic power. When practiced to the extreme, it could burn the void. Originally, after the awakening of the Suzaku sacred body, the little fellow lacked a cultivation method, so it was a great opportunity to get the Eyes of Phoenix. After figuring out the method of Eyes of Phoenix, Qin Haodong said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, now Dad is going to teach you a magic power to use fire. You must learn it seriously, or we can only stay here and can't go home." "Papa, didn't you say that we can't use fire casually?" the little fellow said. "It doesn't mean that we can't use it casually. Now we have to get out of here with the help of fire." "Then why don't you and Auntie Xiaoxian practice it?" "Because we are not as smart as you. Only you learn the fastest. The children are waiting for you to go back to school." The little fellow said seriously, "Oh. Well, Papa will teach me. I will learn it seriously and then take you home with me." After that, Qin Haodong began to dismantle the method of Eyes of Phoenix bit by bit and taught it to the little fellow one by one. As the possessor of the Suzaku sacred body, Tang Tang was naturally suitable for cultivation and soon mastered all the methods of the Eyes of Phoenix. After mastering the method, all that was left was to continuously cultivate and improve it. As long as he reached the minor realm, he would be able to open the door. Qin Haodong asked the little fellow to sit aside and cultivate. He turned to Hu Xiaoxian and said, "It's rare to get an upper-level spirit stone. Let's cultivate and improve our cultivation." One of the most important reasons he came to Shenangjia this time was to break through the bottleneck of the Qi refinement stage. Now was the perfect opportunity. He and Hu Xiaoxian also sat cross-legged on the ground, forming a triangle with the three of them. Then he took out the dragon-shaped beast head and opened it. After that, he put the upper-level spirit stone between the three of them. Suddenly, the whole stone house was filled with abundant spiritual qi again. Qin Haodong closed his eyes and began to run the longevity of Emperor Yozhen. Compared with other cultivation methods, the cultivation method had many advantages, but at the same time, it required a lot of spiritual qi, so he had not been able to break through to the foundation realm. Now with sufficient spiritual qi, everything became simple. As the genuine qi of longevity was running, the surrounding spiritual qi seemed to be greatly attracted and quickly gathered in Qin Haodong's body, like rivers flowing into the sea. Fortunately, the upper-level spirit stone was in front of him, providing him with a steady stream of spiritual qi. After running the genuine qi of longevity for 3 circles, he heard a slight click in his mind. The genuine qi in his dantian seemed to be boiling and instantly became more than 10 times stronger. The momentum of his whole body suddenly rose. Qin Haodong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had completed the foundation realm. It became much simpler when he reached the foundation realm. He could use other elixirs to improve his cultivation. Although the speed was a little slow, he could see the effect after all. He opened his eyes and found that the little fellow was very stable and was concentrating on cultivation. Compared with the previous cultivation, Hu Xiaoxian had made great progress. She had reached the 3rd level of covert power and had not stopped. With the space stone, Hu Xiaoxian's cultivation speed not only greatly improved, but also did not have to worry about qi deviation. She only needed to focus on improving her cultivation. The only regret was that the 3 of them needed a lot of spiritual qi to cultivate at the same time. The upper-level spirit stone had become smaller than before. It was a rare opportunity. Qin Haodong had to seize the opportunity to cultivate. After sighing, he closed his eyes again. With sufficient supply of spiritual qi, his cultivation speed was extremely fast. With the cultivation experience of his previous life, even without the space stone, he did not have to worry about the problem of qi deviation. The 1st level of covert power, the 2nd level of covert power. After a long time, his cultivation jumped to the 5th level of covert power. When he was ready to continue to improve, he felt that the spiritual qi around him disappeared as if it had been sucked out. After finishing the cultivation state, Qin Haodong found that the upper-level spirit stone in front of him had completely disappeared. He could not help but sigh secretly. Although the upper-level spirit stone was good, it would be used up. However, he was still satisfied. He could cultivate from the 9th level of overt power to the 5th level of covert power at once. This kind of cultivation speed was enough to make other warriors crazy. He was not the only one whose cultivation had been greatly improved. Hu Xiaoxian had also been promoted from the 2nd level of covert power to the 5th level of covert power. At this time, she seemed to feel the lack of spiritual qi and ended the cultivation state. "My God, my cultivation has improved so much all of a sudden." Hu Xiaoxian was not as calm as Qin Haodong. She immediately became ecstatic when she felt her strength. After entering the covert power level, it was extremely difficult to improve a small realm. Many people needed a year or even several years to do so. But after she met Qin Haodong, she had been promoted from the first level of covert power to the fifth level of covert power in just a few days. It was absolutely shocking and appalling. She wanted to cheer as much as she could, but when she saw the little fellow who was still cultivating next to her, she forcibly suppressed her inner excitement. Hu Shaoxian put her arms around Qin Haodong's neck and kissed him hard on the face. Then she whispered, "Haodong, I've reached the fifth level of covert power. It's reasonable to improve so much after consuming an upper-level spirit stone." Qin Haodong reached out and patted her delicate cheek. He said jokingly, "But I've improved more than you. Now I'm also at the fifth level of covert power. It's impossible for you to push me down by force in the future." "Really? That's great." Hu Shaoxian was also happy for Qin Haodong's improvement. Then she said, "Since you can't push me down by force, let's seduce you." While speaking, she raised her hand and pulled down her collar, revealing her sexy collarbone and the bottomless ravine. Qin Haodong suddenly felt a burst of heat in his nostrils. He quickly changed the topic and said, "Let's see how long we've been cultivating." Only then did Hu Shaoxian let go of his neck. She took out her mobile phone and glanced at it. Then she exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's been 5 days." Then she thought of something and said, "It's been so long. I wonder how Lei Tianrui and the others are doing." Lei Tianrui and the others were trapped in the illusion formation without any water or food. "Don't worry, they won't die," Qin Haodong said, "besides we can't get out now. It's useless to worry." Then he stood up, moved his limbs and put the two halves of the dragon head back together. Then he sealed it again. Although there was no upper-level spirit stone in it, it was after all an authentic animal head of the 12 zodiac animals. It was worth more than tens of millions. Wu Shaoxian said, "By the way, Haodong, I heard that the dragon head is hidden in the museum of Bao Island. Now there's another one here. Which one is real and which one is fake?" Qin Haodong said, "From the perspective of antiques, both of them should be real, but there must be no upper-level spirit stone in that one. It should be remade after the dragon head was taken away by Senior Situ." At the same time he thought of something. That was to say, in addition to the dragon head, other animal heads of the 12 zodiac animals also had upper-level spirit stones sealed in them. As long as he could find other animal heads, his cultivation could go further. But this was all in the future. Now the most important thing was to get out of the stone room as soon as possible. "Haodong, you must be hungry. Let's eat." Although cultivation could reduce the speed of metabolism to the lowest, after all, 5 days had passed. Both of them were a little hungry. Hu Shaoxian used her divine thoughts and some dried meat and water appeared in front of them. She was now very good at using the storage ring and she liked it very much. It was like carrying a mobile warehouse with her and it could be kept fresh for a long time. The only regret was that the food prepared by Xikong Zhaixing was too simple, and that was all there was. "It's not delicious. Let's eat mine." Qin Haodong had prepared enough before coming. With his divine thoughts, all kinds of stir-fried dishes and beer appeared in front of him. The storage ring was equivalent to a three-dimensional space without an axis of time. What was put in was still the same when it was taken out, so the dishes were still steaming. "Smells so good. Papa, I'm hungry." When they were about to eat, the little fellow also ended her cultivation. Hearing the little fellow's cry, Qin Haodong turned his head and saw a pair of eyes. At this time the little fellow was completely different from before. Her pupils had become two groups of golden flames. The flames were constantly jumping in her eyes, and they emitted a dazzling light, which made people dare not look directly at them. However, this was only for a moment. Very quickly, the little fellow blinked once, and the flames in its eye sockets quickly converged and disappeared, returning to a pair of big and adorable eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see two balls of needle-sized flames that were constantly pulsating in the depths of its pupils. "Tang Tang, you made it?" Qin Haodong was surprised. Although he did not practice, he was already familiar with the cultivation method of Eyes of Phoenix. From the state of the little fellow, he could see that she had reached the realm of small accomplishment. According to the records of Xikong Zhaixing's cultivation method, even the most talented disciple of a Yuan sect needed more than 3 months to reach the realm of Eyes of Phoenix. He did not expect that Tang Tang could reach this realm in 5 days. It seemed that the cultivation talent of Suzaku's sacred body was indeed well-deserved. "Papa, I want to eat ribs." The little fellow looked at the plate of sweet and sour ribs in front of her and drooled. In contrast, she was much more interested in food than cultivation. Wu Shaoxian said, "Let's eat first. We'll talk about cultivation after dinner." The three of them sat around the table and had a good meal. After dinner, Qin Haodong pointed to the Millennium Cold Iron blocking the entrance and said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, try to see if you can open this thing." Chapter 224. Papa, can I use the fire now? The little fellow asked. Of course, you can use it whenever Papa asks you to. Great, I can finally play with fire. The little fellow cried happily, and then two flames gradually appeared in her eyes. The flames were golden, dancing and burning fiercely in her pupils. They became more and more vigorous and finally turned into two thin golden lines of fire, shooting at the piece of millennium cold steel that sealed the entrance of the cave. The indestructible millennium cold steel was cut into a square of about 1 meter by the little fellow's eyes of phoenix like a knife cutting tofu, and then fell to the ground with a plop. Seeing that the flames released by the little fellow were still burning toward the top of the cave, Qin Haodong hurriedly shouted, "Tang Tang, that's enough. Stop it now." The little fellow responded. She seemed to feel a little unsatisfied, but she still took back the flames. The flames in her eyes flickered twice and then slowly disappeared. Wu Shaoxian was shocked. She didn't expect that the little fellow's eyes of phoenix would be so powerful. She had tested the hardness of the millennium cold steel, and even the purple flash sword could do nothing to it. But it couldn't resist the little fellow at all. Qin Haodong was also a little surprised. After the eyes of phoenix reached the basic level, the flames released by the little fellow had progressed from innate fire to 3 true fire. Although there was still some gap, it was not big. "Papa, how is it? Am I awesome?" The little fellow cried excitedly. "Awesome, it's really awesome." Qin Haodong then warned, "Tang Tang, don't use the eyes of phoenix without Papa's permission in the future." "I got it." The little fellow said obediently, "Papa, when are we going home? I miss my mom a little." "Let's go now." The trip to Shenangjia was a complete success, and they even overfulfilled the task. All three of them got great benefits, and now it was time to go back. Qin Haodong thought of something and put the dragon-shaped beast head and the fallen millennium cold steel into the storage ring. Although the dragon-shaped beast head had lost its upper-level spirit stone, it was still a valuable antique, and the millennium cold steel was a good material for refining weapons. Naturally, it couldn't be left here. The three of them walked out of the basement and came to the formation where Lei Tianrui and others were trapped. At this moment, all 5 of them were lying on the ground, barely breathing. They could no longer care about the illusory treasures around them. Normal people could only endure for 3 days without food and water. If they were not martial artists, they would have starved to death long ago. Even so, they were so hungry that their eyes were sunken and their faces were pale. They no longer had any strength left. Qin Haodong raised his hand and patted the wall next to him. This was the formation eye of the illusory matrix. After breaking the illusory matrix, he collected the formation plate and formation flag here. Although he was proficient in array formations, the materials needed to refine array discs and array flags were extremely rare. These things could be used to set up arrays in the future. The formation was broken. Lei Tianrui and the others immediately saw Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian standing next to them. Looking at the 3 people in high spirits, they couldn't care less anymore. They cried weakly, "Water, give me some water." Although these people were hateful, they were her companions after all. Hu Shaoxian still took out several bottles of mineral water and gave each of them a bottle. After they got the water, they didn't care much anymore and drank the water in the bottle in one go. With the nourishment of the water, they immediately became much more energetic. "Shaoxian, do you have anything to eat? Give us some." Lei Tianrui was so hungry that his eyes turned green. As a son of an aristocratic family, he had never tasted the feeling of not eating for 5 days. Hu Shaoxian sneered and said, "What? Aren't you afraid that we will rob you of your treasures and scripts?" Lei Tianrui came to his senses. He looked around and cried crazily, "Where are my treasures? Where are my secret manuals? Where are my medicinal pills?" Zhao Qingquan was a formation master after all. At this time he had already seen the clues. He said, "Boss, stop shouting. Those are all fake. We just fell into the illusory matrix." The illusory matrix set by Xikong Zhaixing was really powerful. At the same time, it also had the effect of a maze. Lei Tianrui and the others fantasized about getting the treasures, but they couldn't get out, so they finally fainted here because of hunger. Lei Tianrui couldn't accept the fact for a moment. He cried crazily again, "What? You said it's all fake? How could it be fake? Didn't we find the treasures?" "All right, wake up. There is no treasure here at all." Hu Shaoxian said, "This is just a cave left by a senior cultivator. There are no treasures in it." There must be treasures here. You must have hidden them. Let me have a look. Lei Qinrui said and rushed to Hu Shaoxian with his hands open. It seemed that he was going to search her. Get out of here. Hu Shaoxian's patience with this guy had reached its limit. She kicked the weak Lei Qinrui away. Lei Qinrui hit the cave wall heavily and slid to the ground. Until then he was a little sober. He slowly came to his senses and sat on the ground wearily. Shaoxian, don't blame the boss. He was just impulsive. Zhao Qingquan said, do you have anything to eat? Give us some, we're starving to death. He was a smart man. He saw that Hu Shaoxian and the other two stayed in the cave for 5 days, but they were still in good spirits. Obviously they had something to eat. We don't have anything to eat. We rely on these elixirs. That was what Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong had discussed. They couldn't say anything about the inheritance, let alone the storage ring. So Qin Haodong picked out some nourishing elixirs from the elixir room and said that they survived with these elixirs. As for the instructions, they only said that they found these elixirs and nothing else. Hu Shaoxian gave the elixirs to the 5 people one by one. Lei Qinrui and the others didn't care anymore and directly swallowed the elixirs. These elixirs were made by Xikong Zhaixing himself. Although some of the efficacy had been lost because of the long time, the basic nourishing effect was still there. After the 5 people took the elixirs, their hunger suddenly disappeared and they regained their strength. Lei Qinrui ran his genuine qi and felt that he had recovered to the peak state. He immediately became full of confidence. He kept glancing at Qin Haodong and the other 2 people. He always felt that they had secretly hidden treasures. Let's go in and have a look. He glared at Qin Haodong and then went into the cave with several people. After carefully looking around, he didn't find any treasures. The only thing he saw were the elixirs left in the elixir room. He didn't have Qin Haodong's medical skills, so he couldn't accurately distinguish the properties and functions of these elixirs. So these elixirs were useless to him. He couldn't take one at random or it might kill him. He couldn't accept that he had to return empty-handed after so much hard work. He looked at Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong and said, since it's the cave left by the seniors, there must be treasures in it. They must have been taken by you too. We came here together. You can't eat them alone. You have to share some with us. Hu Shaoxian said, you see, there's nothing here. What can we get? It's hard to believe what you said unless you let us search you. Lei Qinrui said, pointing to Qin Haodong, especially his backpack. I guess there must be something hidden in it. Hu Shaoxian's face changed and she said, Lei Qinrui, who do you think you are? We didn't get anything. Even if we got something, why should we share it with you? You even want to search us. Who gave you the courage? Lei Qinrui smiled and said, well, I'm right. You must have hidden the treasures. It's okay if you share some with us. But if you want to eat them alone, don't blame us for being rude. After that he waved his hand. Zhao Qingquan and others immediately surrounded Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. It seemed that they would rob them if they didn't agree. Hu Shaoxian said angrily, Lei Qinrui, don't go too far. Don't forget that we just saved you. Qin Haodong said, Shaoxian, I told you that this guy is an ungrateful wolf. We should have just left them here to fend for themselves. Lei Qinrui said, don't talk nonsense. You didn't have good intentions from the beginning to the end. Otherwise, why did you leave us in the illusion just now? You ran out first. Didn't you want to take the treasures here? Hurry up and throw me your backpack. Since you saved us once, I'll let you off this time. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place. Qin Haodong sneered and said, I've never seen such a shameless person like you. You can always blame others for your own incompetence. Hu Shaoxian said, Haodong, ignore this shameless person. Let's go. Then she pulled Qin Haodong and walked out of the cave. Stop right there. Hu Shaoxian, don't think that you can do whatever you want since you've reached the 2nd level of covert power. We can also keep you here together. Lei Qinrui shouted to Zhao Qingquan and others, let's do it together and share the treasures equally. Although he was full of confidence, he bypassed Hu Shaoxian and directly rushed to Qin Haodong. He slapped Qin Haodong's face with one hand and grabbed the backpack behind Qin Haodong with the other. In his mind, Qin Haodong's cultivation had always been lower than Hu Shaoxian's, so he naturally wanted to bully the weak. He never dreamed that Qin Haodong's cultivation had jumped to the 5th level of covert power. What's more, he practiced cultivation methods. He was absolutely invincible among the masters at the same level. The result could be imagined. Lei Qinrui wanted to take advantage of Qin Haodong, but he kicked an iron plate. Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and slapped Lei Qinrui's face with the other. The slap looked simple, but it was fast and fierce. He was slapped away like a slap to his grandson. Before Lei Qianrui figured out what was going on, he hit the wall of the cave heavily again. But this time it was much heavier than Hu Xiaoxian's kick. Half of his face was swollen and his teeth fell to the ground. When did you become so powerful? He got up from the ground and looked at Qin Haodong in horror. The slap made him feel that Qin Haodong's cultivation was at least above the third level of covert power. He was much more powerful than Hu Xiaoxian. But he was more sure that Qin Haodong had got something good, or he wouldn't have improved so quickly. Zhao Qingquan and Dong Sihai were going to grab the treasure together. But before they could do anything, Lei Qianrui was slapped like a grandson. They were so scared that they stopped immediately. Qin Haodong glanced around coldly and said with a murderous look, "I don't care whether you are from the Shenyuan Pavilion or not. If you dare to make trouble for me again, I will kill you." Lei Qianrui and the others trembled with fear when they met Qin Haodong's eyes. Although they were extremely unwilling, strength decided everything. It was obvious that they were no match for Qin Haodong's one hand even if they fought together. How could they dare to say no? "Let's go." Qin Haodong held the little fellow in one hand and Hu Xiaoxian in the other. The three of them walked out of the cave. Seeing that they were all gone, Lei Qianrui and others naturally would not stay and followed them out of the cave. Chapter 225. At this time, the entrance of the cave was surrounded by more than 20 neon ninjas, led by the neon warrior Yamamoto Kusakara. A little ninja said respectfully, "Lord Jonin, we've been waiting for 5 days. Could those cunning Wuxia people have died in the cave?" Yamamoto Kusakara said, "That's impossible. There are masters among them. Otherwise they wouldn't have let us here so easily. People like them won't die so easily." "Is it possible that those Wuxia people went out from other caves after getting the treasures?" Yamamoto Kusakara said, "That's even more impossible. The ancient Wuxia cultivators were very powerful. They always left only one cave entrance and never left a way out in their cave residence. So you don't have to worry about them sneaking away. But it's been 5 days and they still haven't done anything. That's not normal." "No, it's normal. The cave residence of the Wuxia people is very troublesome. There are all kinds of formations and traps in it. If you don't know these things you'll be dead when you go in. So they may be breaking the formations or being trapped somewhere. But don't worry, they'll come out sooner or later." Yamamoto Kusakara said with a proud face, "That's why I asked these people from the Shenyuan Pavilion to be the vanguard. Otherwise we'll definitely be injured if we go in directly. We won't be as complete as we are now. In this way we can minimize the loss and get the treasures they found. I guess the Wuxia people can't even imagine that everything they've done is to serve our neon warriors. Let's use a saying in Wuxia, it's called picking peaches. Lord Jonin is really talented and bold." Of course, the little ninja knew very well that his superior liked to show off, so he hurried to flatter him. At this time, a ninja who had been watching at the door ran over and shouted, "Lord Jonin, there seems to be something in the cave." "Great. They finally came out." Yamamoto Kusakara said excitedly, "Get ready, everyone. Don't let those Wuxia people get out. All their treasures are ours." When Qin Haodong and the others walked out of the cave, they suddenly saw that the entrance of the cave was full of neon people. Hu Xiaoxian and the others' expressions changed. As members of the special department, they often dealt with neon people. They immediately recognized that these were the most powerful ninjas in Neon. At the same time, they also understood what they were here for. It was obvious that they were waiting to reap the benefits. Qin Haodong didn't care at all. He looked at Yamamoto Kusakara and said jokingly, "What do you mean? Are you here to welcome us?" A little ninja stepped forward and shouted, "Ignorant Wuxia people, don't you know that you're about to die?" Yamamoto Kusakara waved his hand, signaling the little ninja to step back. Then he said arrogantly, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Yamamoto Kusakara, a jonin from Neon. I've been waiting for you for a long time." Yamamoto Kusakara. He is Yamamoto Kusakara. Lei Qianrui and the others were agitated. In order to know themselves and their enemies well, they often learned about the masters of their enemies. Yamamoto Kusakara was one of them. Although he was not the top master in Neon, he had reached the 3rd level of covert power. Among them, Lei Qianrui was at the 1st level of covert power. Hu Xiaoxian was a little more powerful, but she was only at the 2nd level of covert power. Maybe only Qin Haodong could compete with this old guy. But apart from Yamamoto Kusakara, there were so many middle-level ninjas who had also reached the 9th level of overt power. It seemed that the situation was not optimistic today. Yamamoto Kusakara seemed to notice the change in their expressions. He laughed and said, I'm sure you've heard of my name. Now that you know how powerful I am, hand over the treasures you've obtained. Maybe I'll spare your lives if I'm in a good mood. I'll deal with this old guy. Later you and Xiaoxian take the treasures and run. Remember, we can't let the treasures of Wuxia fall into the hands of Neon people. After that, Lei Qinrui strode to Yamamoto Kusakara with his men. Qin Haodong was stunned. He didn't expect this selfish and ungrateful guy to have such a brave side. He didn't hesitate to sacrifice himself in front of the Neon people. He wouldn't believe it if he didn't see it with his own eyes. At this time Lei Qinrui shouted, Yamamoto Kusakara, how dare you Neon people come to our Wuxia casually? Casually? Yamamoto Kusakara laughed arrogantly and said, we didn't come here casually. It's something we've been planning for a long time. How do you think the intelligence department of Wuxia got the map? We made it and gave it to you. What? You gave us the map? Lei Qinrui was shocked. Qin Haodong had some speculations about this after his experience with the Devilish Five, but he didn't expect that it was the Neon people behind the scenes. Of course, that piece of paper of yours is just a copy. The real map is in my hands. Yamamoto Kusakara seemed to feel that he was going to win. He was not in a hurry to fight. He raised his hand and took out an ancient sheepskin map. See, this is the map I got. Qin Haodong glanced at the sheepskin map in Yamamoto Kusakara's hand. It was a bit old, but it seemed to be only 100 or 200 years old. There was still some time before Sikong Zhaixing died. It seemed that some cultivator or explorer had been here after Sikong Zhaixing's death and made the map when he was blocked outside the formation. Then it was accidentally passed to the Neon people. Yamamoto Kusakara continued, are you wondering why we gave the map to the Xinyuan Pavilion when we got it? Actually, it's very simple. I tried several times but I couldn't break the formation at the door. Only you Chinese people can break the strange things that you Wuxia people have researched. So I thought about it and casually used a trick to make you work for me. You don't know, but we've been following you all the way. As the old saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Speaking of this, he laughed arrogantly again. It seemed that he was very satisfied with what he had done. Lei Qinrui said, it's hard to say who is the mantis and who is the oriole. Don't forget that this is Wuxia. It's not your place to be arrogant. Yamamoto Kusakara said, there's an old saying in Wuxia that a wise man submits to circumstances. Can't you see that you're surrounded now? You're no match for us in terms of strength. Listen to me. You've finished your mission. Hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. Lei Qinrui said, Yamamoto Kusakara, you've been fooled. This map is fake. There's nothing in this cave. You don't have to think about treasures. Do you think I'm a fool? Yamamoto Kusakara laughed wildly. Then his expression suddenly changed. He said fiercely, hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. Otherwise I'll have to kill you and search your bodies. Lei Qinrui yelled, cut the crap. My life is here. Take it if you can. He drew out a long sword and turned back to Qin Haodong and Zhao Chenkuan. He said in a low voice, I'll deal with this old Japanese. You go. Then he swung his long sword and rushed to Yamamoto Kusakara. At the same time, Zhao Chenkuan, Xie Zidong and others also rushed to the Japanese ninja with a shout. Yamamoto Kusakara drew out his katana and laughed. Stupid Wuxia people. Sometimes it's not enough to fight with your life. Strength is what matters in the end. Go to hell, you Japanese. Lei Qinrui roared. The long sword in his hand turned into a streak of light and went straight to Yamamoto Kusakara's throat. Sick man of East Asia, you're too weak. Yamamoto Kusakara chopped at him with his katana. Compared to Lei Qinrui's sword, it was more powerful and imposing. When the sword and the sword collided, Lei Qinrui's sword was cut in half by the katana. Wuxia man, you're no match for me. While Lei Qinrui was still in a daze, Yamamoto Kusakara kicked him hard in the stomach and sent him flying. The kick was so powerful that Lei Qinrui was kicked several times in the air. When he was about to fall on the ground, a big hand reached out and grabbed his belt, gently putting him on the ground. Lei Qinrui looked up and found it was Qin Haodong who caught him. He said angrily, why are you still here? This old Japanese guy is very powerful. Qin Haodong said, why should I go? They're just a few Japanese guys. They're in our territory. They should be the ones to leave. While they were talking, Zhao Chenkuan and others were also defeated. All of them were more or less injured. With their cultivation of the 9th level of overt power, they could fight against a middle-level ninja. But they would definitely lose if they fought against 2 ninjas. Besides, there were 4 or 5 times more ninjas than them. Seeing that he was going to win, Yamamoto Kusakara laughed again and said, "What do you think? You're not strong enough. Just give us the treasures. You Wuxia people don't deserve them." Just as he was laughing happily, he heard a childish voice say, "Papa, this guy is too ugly. He looks disgusting." Yamamoto Kusakara's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Qin Haodong and the little fellow in his arms and said angrily, "Little girl, what did you say? Didn't you hear? My daughter said you're too ugly." Qin Haodong took 2 steps forward and said to Yamamoto Kusakara with a playful face, "You Japanese guys stole our Wuxia culture, but you're not good at it. Your parents actually gave you such a funny name. Do you know what Kusakara means in our Wuxia? It means nothing. It's weightless. To put it bluntly, it's just a fart. Fuck boy, you're courting death." Yamamoto Kusakara roared and raised his katana high. But before he chopped down, he heard Qin Haodong say coldly, "What are you shouting for? You're too noisy." Then a big slap landed on his face. Yamamoto Kusakara was still holding the long katana and was about to chop down. He was slapped across the air and knocked down 4 or 5 ninjas in a row. What? How is that possible? Lei Tianrui and the others were stunned. They had just experienced the power of these Japanese ninjas. They didn't expect that Qin Haodong could still slap them as if they were children. Qin Haodong even slapped them away with a child in his arms. Yamamoto Kusakara climbed down from the ground and couldn't believe what he had seen. The proud Jonin was slapped by a young Wuxia man in public. He couldn't accept it. He raised his katana and shouted wildly, "Wuxia man, I'll kill you. Didn't you say it's useless to risk your life? Strength is what matters in the end." Qin Haodong dodged Yamamoto Kusakara's attack and kicked him in the stomach. It was almost the same as the kick on Lei Tianrui. Yamamoto Kusakara was kicked more than 10 meters away. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.